Oh, everybody has their own taste.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, November 3rd, 2013. Time for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination Episode 562.
This is No Agenda.
Resetting the clock in more ways than one from the Travis Heights Hideout in FEMA Region 6, Austin Tejas in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the 6-week cycle is intact, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Yeah, this is annoying.
What do you mean it's annoying?
Well,
it was annoying because, for one thing, I've got too many clips.
Yeah, and, you had so many clips, my mail server had to reject it. You were so big. Your girth was so huge. Now, let me just tell you what's annoying. People. I need to go back on the 6-week cycle and just explain where it came from and then explain how we deal with this on the No Agenda show. We received from an insider at the FBI the information that the FBI needs to have some kind of event take place every 6 weeks to remain relevant within the national security framework. And we started tracking that, and we're pretty much spot on every single time to the day. Now, when this happens to the day, like this LAX shooting, it's okay to say, hey, 6-week cycle on Twitter, but the spiking the football is really not okay. It's like, woo, bitches, you did it, you rock! No.
You know, this has become such a problem in the culture, which is this kind of a weird version of the me culture.
Yeah.
That was, I think, apparent in the 80s. It's kind of back again. I think that's why people are putting these little bands and stuff on themselves, because it's all about them.
Yeah.
It's gotten so bad in college football that they're going to change the rule. People don't know this yet, but there's a rule about taunting.
Oh, no. You can lose the game if you taunt in high school football.
Well, they can throw the game, but they're taking it almost that far with college. If you score a touchdown and do any sort of taunting after I'm great, they'll take the touchdown away.
Yeah, but John, there's a quite a crevasse between spiking the football in a game for a touchdown and cheering on
death and mayhem.
Possible death and mayhem. Yeah. And the best response we got was Molly Wood came over for a couple days to stay with us, and she was flying out on Friday, and she texted Mickey. She says, I should know better than to ever schedule travel on the No Agenda 6-week schedule.
It's a good point.
Yeah, you should not schedule any. When is the next? Well,
now as you mentioned, I'm going to look it up.
It's going to be right after Thanksgiving, I guess.
This event took place technically, I guess, on Friday.
Yes.
So we got the 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So it would be December
13th.
13th?
Yeah.
12th or 13th. Wow.
We'll have a show on the 15th, and we put the range within it. We put it as though the range is between the 8th and the 20th to give it a big hole.
Yeah.
With the 13th in the middle, hoping to target the 13th.
Hoping to win on the 13th. Woo! Bitches, we win. Well, actually, I don't feel. I had a kind of words this morning with the ladies. I don't feel so bad because, as far as I'm concerned, nothing's happened. You know, I have no empirical evidence of anything, of anyone being dead or nothing. Just have no evidence whatsoever. Give me please email me one picture of a victim.
Well, there is a picture. It's in the daily. It's in the
New York Post
of some guy who's not even the same guy.
It's the New York Post with that.
The New York Post with that guy
with like tomato gunk next to him. It's not even a human being. That looks like a practice dummy.
I have no idea what that guy is, but they claim, when in fact We had the thing that was interesting about this is that, and I got on it right away. As soon as it happened, I got on the feed from KTLA, which was just reporting around the clock.
Right. Because
the best part of these stories is the beginning.
Always.
Before they have the story straight.
Always.
So we have I'll play a couple of these right now to get them out of the way. But here is the one that is probably the key to trying. Of course, these eyewitnesses are just hopeless. But let's listen to the LAX story. Early eyewitness.
Okay.
Very detailed.
I wonder if we have some of the same clips by any chance.
Well, we've been speaking to eyewitnesses who've been helping piece together exactly what happened in Terminal 3. And Carolyn mentioned a few moments ago, while you guys were recapping what was said at the news conference, that the question was asked, could the suspect be a TSA agent? Well, joining us now is a gentleman, Jose. You were on your way to Oklahoma.
Right. This was the first part, and it's kind of interesting. And John, are we just taking the stance right off the bat here that this was a possibly just another drill, maybe not real? Is that where you're at in this, or are
I'm
you still
not?
up in the
I'm actually more ambiguous than you are. Okay. I don't know anything. Right. But you mentioned that we should at least mention this before you continue with that clip. Why don't you play the LAX training exercise clip so we're aware of this?
Yeah. Hold on a second. Yeah. I think we have pretty much the same here. I may have one little variance.
Here, the airport police chief, Patrick Annan, did say that very recently his officers trained in this exact kind of a scenario, and that training proved critical this morning, that there were not more casualties than the 7 people injured and possibly 1 killed that we saw this morning. So we're still trying to gather a lot of information here.
Let me actually play the sound clip of the LAX police chief, where he actually not only admits to the training but admits to something else and corrects himself to make it even better. Damn it.
Unfortunately, it involved an officer-involved shooting, but that's what needed to be done in that particular situation, and that was heroic. We practiced to this. Not more than 3 weeks ago, we took every one of our officers, our patrol officers, and a couple of hundred officers from the Los Angeles Police Department, and we practiced the exact scenario that played out today. And I was talking to the...
Now, did he not correct himself from saying that played out today to say that we played out today?
Yeah, he did make the correction. Now, this guy, I had that clip too. We have the same clips. This is not good, but that's okay. It does happen once in a while. Right. This guy, by the way, is very irksome. He has a huge underbite. And so he kind of he has this funny way of talking that is just annoying. I don't see how anyone can work for him.
But when you look at the video, in the background is the special agent of the FBI who's in charge, and you'll see him looking kind of, just staring ahead. And when the police chief goes, "This is what we played out," you see him like put his hand to his brow like and wipe his hand over his face like, what is the guy saying?
Well, we had a report on KTLA about the FBI being on the scene because apparently it was disconcerting to a bunch of people. Why was the FBI there in the first place? And they came up, I thought, with a pretty good kind of weaseled their way out of the how to explain the FBI being there, because they're right off the bat.
But we're getting as much as we can, bit by bit, from the different officials who are out here. We have seen FBI agents, and there was a question, in fact, why the FBI is involved in all of this. And the airport police chief explained that, well, this is a multi-jurisdictional area where you have all of these different agencies who oversee the airport police, LAPD, LA County Sheriff's Department, the FBI, Homeland Security, and so forth. So it's just a multi-jurisdictional area, kind of a campus. So that's why all of these different law enforcement officials, these different agencies are involved in dealing with this kind of crisis and with the investigation afterwards.
Yeah, that's not what the police chief said, actually. I have the question and his answer. He did not say because it's a campus or anything like that. Here's what he said.
Could you explain why the FBI is the lead agency? Well, this is an airport at...
It's an airport. This is a crap. It's an airport
that has federal jurisdiction. We have FBI assets here on.
Is that true? Does the airport have federal jurisdiction? I don't think that's necessarily true. Isn't the airport private
FBI
property?
assets. Why do they even have the L.A. or the airport police at all? Then just to tell people to move along in the white zone
to annoy you. That's why. Yeah, no, this made no sense. His answer is not that good.
Board, and it's a unified command involving everybody, but the investigative lead has been decided to take by the FBI. Is the shooter a federal?
Yeah, his answer is not quite like, oh, this is normal procedure on the campus. It's like, yeah, no, the decision was made for the FBI to take command. Of course, it's an FBI operation. My take.
Before we get, well, I'm not, this would be the theory this would be the no agenda thesis. So it's not really your take. It is the no agenda take, because this is what we've come up with since the first event in the cycle was always FBI. You're just agreeing with the theory. I'm more skeptical about the whole thing, is that I'm the one who, should be all in. I just think the whole thing was, I don't know what to think of it. That's my take on it. Well, and here's the thing that kind of got me. I want you. This is like an Ask Adam, since you're the airplane guy.
That's how we pilots refer to ourselves. Airplane.
You're the airplane guy.
Hey, airplane guy, good landing.
Okay, I want you to play that before we still put this is like a Shaggy Dog story to play that guy's clip where he says it's a TSA guy shooting down the escalator.
Wait a minute, do you have this clip?
No, the clip I want you to play is LAX story San Jose. And then I have a question for you.
Okay.
San Jose Airport took in diverted flights yesterday, and at least 9 flights were canceled. Last night, a group of high school musicians from Thailand boarded a bus to LAX after their flight from JFK was diverted to San Jose. The group had just performed in New York and was supposed to use the same terminal where the shooting took place.
Woo! All right, what's the question?
The question is, there in the LA basin, you have Ontario, you have Burbank, you have Long Beach, which is underutilized by a lot. And then you have San Diego, 150 miles away. Why would you land a plane in San Jose 400 miles away, 440 miles away from LAX as a diversion when there's all these other airports nearby? And the other terminals were working and they were landing planes.
Well, I can't answer that because I just don't know what the traffic. Los Angeles International Airport is one of the busiest in the world, and it all depends on. And every single flight has when you plan your flight, you have to say, okay, here's my first diversion, here's my second. Here's the airports that we'll go to in case of an emergency. It's more than likely, actually, the airline had that as their alternate. Or as maybe as their second alternate.
Okay, that answers the question.
Okay. So that is not that crazy. As long as they had enough fuel.
It just seems nuts to me. Well, it's possible that if they were coming
that's why you're not an airplane guy. Because
I'm not an airplane guy.
we
never said I was. It just seems crazy. But if you're coming around from New York, I think you might be coming down. I think like over Mono Lake or Yosemite to get to LA.
It really depends,
and it would be easier. It'd be easy just to stop in San Jose, save money.
Yeah, but there's a lot of planes that were like just going to stop somewhere or do something.
Well, most of them, yeah. Okay.
This type of situation, there's a lot going on. So I don't think that's strange. It's certainly annoying if that's what your alternate diversion is. If that's where you're dropped off, that's horrible.
Yes,
no doubt.
Okay. Well, there was also there was a couple of other. There was a lot of weird reports, and I'm sure you didn't get clips of all of them, but it was pretty funny. Some woman said that before her plane left, she was on the tarmac before the shooting, and she said there was a whole slew of helicopters before the shooting hanging around Terminal 3, and she was wondering what that. She just thought that was fishy. And then there was a report, which I do have a clip of apparently an LA Police Department chopper escorting a KLM flight to the ground.
Yeah, I saw this a little bit on television.
Mark, that's a very unusual situation. Why would that chopper be flying above that plane like that?
You know what? That's a good question. That's a police helicopter that is just kind of alongside that KLM flight. We don't know what the nature of that, if you want to call it an escort, is or not. But certainly that KLM flight just kind of landed on the north runway 24 right and appeared to be being followed by the police helicopter. We don't know that that is the case. It could be just kind of our angle there. But, we will try and investigate that and bring that to you here shortly, guys.
Okay, and just to...
Yeah, I saw that. There was nothing going on there. I saw that happening because I saw the KLM plane. Like, oh, that's interesting, KLM. It's just... There were people on the tarmac, and
it was a joke.
It was kind
people of roaming around.
Yeah, the whole thing just really, really. Look, what I'm missing. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's the chopper video, and this is pretty much viral now on YouTube, where you see two guys pushing a wheelchair with really what looks like a dummy. Dressed in a TSA uniform. Like, really, I mean, if you
seen the shot overhead? That's the shot the overhead shot where they pushed this guy out. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
it's guy. I know his arms are hanging.
Yeah, like the rubber head bouncing around. And then there's this New York Post shot of what is supposed to be the shooter, who was supposed to be dressed in, first it's dark gray camos, then it's loose baggy clothing, then it's dark blue, then it's no one has seen the actual guy, only heard stuff.
Here, play the LAX description. This again, you have this clip, I'm sure. This is the conflicting descriptions there's one in there, just my favorite, because it just sounds like they've got a surfer.
Let me ask you a question. Sarah Welch was just talking to a witness, and he said the gunman, he thought he was a TSA agent, or at least he was dressed like one. Could you get any indication from any of the officials around there that of what he was wearing?
They refused to comment on that. They wouldn't give us any details about that. I heard reports earlier from some witnesses that said the guy was wearing some kind of camouflage pants or khaki camouflage pants and a blue jacket. That's what I heard. And though they also did say he was clean cut, a white male, clean cut with dirty blonde hair. That's what I heard. But I heard from more than one witness and through various news agencies and reports that he was wearing some kind of camouflage pants.
Okay, that would certainly refute, what our witness said. But I'm sure there's a lot of conflicting, scenarios here where a lot of people think they see something they don't see. And obviously, if you remember what a TSA agent, I believe they wear black pants and a blue shirt.
Right.
This it's totally useless. All of this is just completely. I'm always looking for.
Well, this pushes your you're buying into the whole thing as bull crap. And by the way, I think our 6 weeks ago even goes back to that crazy story about which you, I think again, was skeptical about, with a naked guy in the street shooting at people driving around. Remember that?
Yeah,
like 2 or 3 years ago, and the guy turns out to be an actor. Has there ever been a follow-up on that story?
No, of course not. So what we would need from this, the airport is filled with cameras. We would need to have some kind of security footage, and if it's going to be the same level as the Navy Yard shooting, which was a guy with a shotgun with no extra ammo, with no other weapons on him, and not even shooting, it's just not believable. And at least I'm consistent. It's like so there were 7 people wounded. Where are they?
Well, here's another thing about the wounded. So they took at least 3 or 4 of them to UCLA Med Center, where they were under lockdown, and they wouldn't let anyone talk to any of them. And I'm looking at the map, the area map around LAX, and UC Medical Center is like, during rush hour, is a good 40 minutes away, and there's at least 3 to 5 nearby hospitals that could handle this. Now, UC system, of course, we've discussed them being compromised with the government, the entire system, and that UCLA would be included,
right?
Because all the CIA agents, the new ones, some of them at least come out of Berkeley, it looks like. So why would you go? And by the way, to get to UCLA Med Center, you have to go up to 405.
Yeah, my favorite.
Even with sirens on, you cannot move because people can't move over.
But John,
if you're on the 405 in any lane and the siren guy comes, you can't move over. There's no place to move over to. It's just locked.
But there was also, they had triage with no one in the triage. They're rolling, either a real person or a dummy.
Front of Terminal 2, in front of the exit doors.
Yeah, but they're rolling people by, and you got firemen just not even looking at it. I mean, it wasn't believable. I just don't have anything tangible to say that actually happened. I got some TMZ footage. TMZ, really? TMZ footage of people running. Everyone has a different story. Every single witness has a different story. And when I hear witnesses like this, the words that are used, I'm like, it's just bothersome because I don't think, whenever there's a man on the street interview, it's always a moron. And now we get people who talk about stuff like...
You're going through security, Mark, what happened?
Well, we were just putting our belongings onto the belt to be screened.
First of all, who says belongings? I put my belongings on the belt. Would you say that?
Let me think about that for a minute. I don't think I've ever used the word belongings.
No. Hey, that's my shit. That's my stuff. Those are my belongings. No.
My belongings.
That is a term.
That's a cop term.
Or script or something.
Script writer.
That is not a term that you use. That's like when I did Swamp Thing. At a certain point, the only part that I had trouble with, and I'm not an actor, is
we noticed.
Hey! Freddy the Firewall doesn't like that talk. I had to use the word blotto.
Blotto for drunk?
Yeah, I was blotto, man. I'm like, I have never met. And
nobody says that.
No.
Except 1920s.
I know, and I was playing like this rock and roll, heavy metal guy. And so I was completely hammered and whatever, and then I'm so, oh man, I'm sorry, I was completely blotto. I said, dude, I've hung out with people, they don't say blotto, but the writers refused. It's like, no, you're saying blotto. That's a perfectly good term. I'm like, okay, fine.
The writers refused.
Yeah.
Oh, the fine writers of Swamp Thing. Well, I'm glad they have high standards.
Well, I mean, it's just as good as belongings. Come on.
Be screened, and we just heard like 8 shots just ring out, bang, 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 bang.
That's 4.
And we all hit the deck.
We hit the deck.
What is this guy from World War II?
Another thing I wouldn't say.
My dad used to say that.
Yeah, it's like we hit the deck. Okay.
And for about, 15 seconds, we were all down, and then all of a sudden, everybody just started running through TSA down into the gates, the terminal there, and TSA was running with us, and they just said, keep running. And as we were running, there was probably another 15 to 20 shots that we heard behind us, and we just kept running. We got out of the terminal building, down onto the tarmac, and we ran over towards Terminal 2, just out underneath.
Now, this is problematic because there's a whole bunch of things that really don't work for me. So at LAX, security, you have to go up the stairs first to get into the security because the whole LAX is kind of built on a slope down. It's a very weird construction. And I'm not sure if Terminal 3, but you can't just jump out onto the tarmac unless you're going all the way to the end, down the stairs. I think they have 2 or 3 gates there that may go down.
It's one of those double-decker things. The second floor, it's not that different than SFO. The second floor
Right. SFO at the end, exactly. So, but this is all just like, wow, and the TSA was running with, it's like, run, bitches!
These planes, and so all the people that were in line to be screened, we stormed through the security gates. Woo! I mean, that's breaching security, too. So
breaching security. Another word that just is like, I mean, I don't know, man. Who is this guy?
That makes everybody nervous. but we just kept running away from the shots, obviously, and we ducked into Terminal 2, and then, we kind of have made our way out here. But, scary moments here for sure.
Scary moments. Now he sounds like he's a newscaster. Scary moments for sure.
Exactly.
Here. Back to you, Bob. Good.
Well,
all right.
Okay. Well, let's listen to the long-winded clip.
Yeah.
the one we've been putting off here, which is the guy who spotted
your early eyewitness, right?
The early eyewitness who built it. Wait, we're going to listen to it with new ears.
Okay.
Looking for script terminology or botches. And this guy, by the way, blows it a lot. If we could take the theory that this is scripted, this guy stinks as an actor.
Does he say blotto at any point?
No, he does not say blotto.
Okay, thank goodness.
We've been speaking to eyewitnesses who've been helping piece together exactly what happened in Terminal 3. And Carolyn mentioned a few moments ago, while you guys were recapping what was said at the news conference, that the question was asked, could the suspect be a TSA agent? Well, joining us now is a gentleman, Jose. You were on your way to Oklahoma. You were in the terminal, and you said you got a very clear description of what the gunman looked like.
Correct. He was dressed in all blue, like he looked like a TSA agent or security.
Okay, wait a minute. The guy in the New York Post is not dressed in all blue. You'll agree with me on that, right?
Oh, yeah, the guy in the New York Post. That guy doesn't look like he's anybody. If I saw him in an airport, I'd be sketched. I couldn't even hold a rifle, that guy.
He has no arms in the picture.
Yeah, I know. His arms, you can see they're cuffed behind his back because one hand is hanging out beneath his buttock.
Okay, I'm sorry, but his buttocks or whatever that rubber is.
He blended in with them, pretty much.
So describe to us what unfolded.
He blended in. Yeah, pretty much.
In front of your eyes.
We're waiting to board our plane to get our tickets to go into the next step.
No, what? So he's at the ticket counter, yet he sees this guy over at security. And this is already wrong, John. This is fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, we're going to listen to.
I'm sorry. I can't. I got to stop it. The guy's already full of crap.
Oh no, it gets better.
Oh jeez.
As we're waiting, there's a big loud sound going off, and we just all froze waiting to see what it was. And after we heard the second round, that's when we all just went to the floor. We didn't hesitate. We all just went down.
But then you said moments later you peeked your head above luggage.
Yeah, because once the shots started going crazy, that's when I told my wife, duck, get on the floor. I managed to get on top of her and reach for a bunch of luggage, and that's when I made a wall out of luggages. And then from there, I glanced at the guy. He was walking towards us because he was not yet to be in Terminal 3. He was coming from Terminal 4, or we don't even know where he came from.
No, they didn't hire this guy, John. This guy he's just lying. It's just guy. I'm gonna get on TV.
So he's well, by the way, that is not an uncommon phenomenon,
right? Just like I got on top of my wife so I could build a wall of luggage. Please.
So the guy apparently is coming in from Terminal 2. He corrects himself later. Terminal 4 is on the other side of the parking lot.
All right. Well, let's listen. I'm game for some more if it's going to get funny.
Yeah, no, play. I'm telling you, get a kick out of it. But he's apparently at the ticket booth, which I find okay. So guy's walking in. I guess he's shooting already, but that makes zero sense.
Which does not at all jive with any of the story.
No, the main story is okay. Let's go over the final scenario.
Let me tell you what the way I heard the story, which was most believable of this unbelievable story. So the guy walks up, says, "Are you TSA?" at the screening booth where they ask for your ticket. Which is like, really, you got to ask, "Are you
TSA?" But supposedly he says, "Are you TSA?"
Yeah, are you TSA? And there's even some other report which says, "No, I'm not." "Oh, okay, carry on. I'm just here to kill TSA." That's how it always goes with these guys. And then he shoots someone, and then he rushes through and is shooting all over the place. Now, this guy is saying he's shooting from outside. Other people say he was shooting from downstairs the escalator. This guy didn't even say he heard shots. He heard a bang, a loud noise or whatever. This is I'm just sorry, John. Unless I see some video evidence.
Well, they have to doctor that first.
They need some time.
We won't see the security cam stuff.
Yeah, they do need some time. Well, this guy is good though. I think he's certainly. Did I mention?
He's clip-worthy.
Did I mention this happened just in time for the beginning of November sweeps week? I'm not kidding. And
that.
And CNN was all in. I mean, CNN, they preempted Burn It for this thing. Everyone else went back to their regular shows at a certain point. CNN did not stop.
No, CNN knows. They know a winner when they see one. Yeah. Anything. Yeah. I mean, they made their reputation on wall-to-wall coverage of stuff like this.
Now, just before we continue, so here's the conversation I had this morning. that by taking this stance, that because I truly, really, I can't say anything other than just because they're saying it on the news, and just because you've got some people saying they heard something but no one really saw anything, I don't know if it actually happened. And I'm very consistent in these things. There's no evidence of any form right now, except we do have a woman who says my husband was killed. She happens to be the worldwide budget account executive for Warner Brothers. Might as well just keep it in the entertainment industry. That's all we have, and that always works. We had Pistol and all those guys fly out there. We've got that's all we have. We really don't have anything else, and we got this bogative picture which doesn't help their story any.
No, that picture's terrible.
And then what I got is, well, this is the no agenda way of dealing with these tragedies. And I said, no, it's not.
Somebody said that to you?
My wife.
It's not the no agenda.
No, because, and let me add to that when we do this, a lot of people feel hurt because it makes them feel like, oh, I can't feel bad about someone being shot and killed because now the no agenda way of thinking is telling me I'm stupid.
No. Brainwashed is the
word. Well, it's not even brainwashed. It's just when oh my God. The art, what is the name? I always promote this thing. The Zen TV experiment. Once a year at least, I tell you to Google the Zen TV experiment. And it's a series of experiments, and you follow these, and you will understand what television does to you and how your brain fills in all the blanks. So this is a fantastic example where you're being told things by people who come across as very believable until you really start to analyze it. And by the way, only listening to them and not seeing them really helps with the analysis. It's very important.
That's something we spotted years ago. That is absolutely correct.
Very important to do that. Because they put pictures over top. There's all these things. You see mayhem.
Actually, I'll give you credit on this one because you're the one who made this observation when I used to do clips called Bad Acting.
Yes,
and it was it was mostly the shows, the Dick Wolf shows, Law and Order series, and then its subcontractors,
right?
And it was so obvious that these people were. That almost all of their acting was the visual.
Yeah.
Because if you just listen to them talk, it was not even good. It was terrible.
And you know what's interesting now that I think about this? Because I when something like this happens, I jump to everything. I'm zapping all over the place. I'm trying to find everything I can. When you cannot get any moronic clips from, for instance, NPR, because a radio guy or someone who is trained in putting together audio reports would never put this in there because, this guy's crazy. He's making no sense. You never hear these reports. You only get them from television, where you are so obsessed with the visual and the tension that is brought there and switching back.
And they'll be talking to you with some of this dubious information while they roll out that TSA guy, the rubber suit guy, or whatever that was.
Whatever that was. That was I think that's the one you practice the mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on or something.
And then they threw him in the ambulance. Anyway.
All right, let's just continue. This guy, it gives you a very good idea of how stupid this really is.
So he's walking towards us. He managed to stop right there by the escalator, and I'm still looking at him. He already emptied his clip. He's already grabbing another gun, shooting down the escalator. As he's doing that, that's when I...
Now there's a second gun, apparently, that we have no evidence of.
Tell my wife, we need to get out of here, because it's either the escalator or he's going to come towards us. And that's what we did. We just ran.
So as we're all trying to sort out who this gunman is, again, describe to us clearly what you saw. And you also told us that you witnessing two weapons.
Correct. There's two weapons playing the part, and...
Yeah, let's use some more acting language.
This gunman looked like a TSA agent to me, because he was dressed like them, like a security, a TSA agent, and he was pretty big. I mean, bigger than me, like body-wise. So I bet if he was going to go crazy today, he had a body armor on him.
Body armor? This kid, by the way, 3 names: Paul Anthony, CIA, and CIA. Which was just like, oh my God.
CIA.
I mean, seriously, it's Ciencia, I think it's how. I didn't get the clip. When his name was first released. Oh, when the name was first released, they were trying to pronounce it on television. They're like, we have the name now. It's Paul Anthony. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Ciencia. I would just CIA and CIA is how you spell it. Like, really? Do you need to throw this in my face? That for me was just the clincher. And the guy has no Facebook. No, he's from New Jersey. From, by the way, a wealthy family. If that truly is his house, they got like a horse farm. So okay, fine, all totally believable. And
did you notice that all the reporting on the supposed piece of paper that he carried? Everyone was different. One said New World Order. The other one says, I'm come to kill TSA and pigs.
And pigs. Yeah.
Pigs? What is this guy from the 60s?
Actually, I really love this part because this is also what was promised to us. Promised by Department of Homeland Security that we would know that the real threat, and this is we have all these documents, we've discussed them, we've these letters that go out to all the police forces around the country. Muslim, crazy Islamist terrorists, that's not your worry. No, it's people who are part of the Patriot movement, people who are anti-government, people who vote for Ron Paul, people who say end the Fed, all of these things. And lo and behold, without any proof, I've seen no paper, I've seen nothing, we have, all of a sudden we know that this.
And the accused gunman may have been a conspiracy theorist. Federal officials say he had materials referencing the New World Order. CNN's Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr.
Let's bring in Barbara Starr, the Pentagon correspondent, to explain conspiracy theorists and New World Order, ladies and gentlemen.
She's live in Washington now. Barbara, let me ask you this. Do you know anything at this point what officials are saying about this?
Well, some information is now emerging. Our justice reporter, Evan Perez, has spoken to federal law enforcement official who says materials found on the shooting suspect did include a rant that appeared to...
Rant, John, a rant.
Well, I heard about the rant.
The rant. I hope it was a no agenda sticker.
Reference that New World Order as well as anti-TSA, anti-government claims. It's not clear what really gave rise to these references. Federal investigators have found no known links to any groups or anything in the suspect's background to explain them. For people perhaps...
Okay, for people who perhaps need to be brainwashed, slave-washed now into understanding conspiracy theory about the New World Order, Barbara Starr, Pentagon correspondent, shall explain it to you.
Not familiar. New World Order is generally accepted to be a conspiracy theory where people believe that there are elites out there forming some sort of special authoritarian government. This is the generally accepted view of what New World Order means. But investigators, Allison, still looking into all of this.
And for those of you who may just be listening to the No Agenda show now for the first time, I would like to play for you a clip where the term New World Order was pretty much first used in public by the grand conspiracy theorist of them all, the biggest, the Mac Daddy of all the elites.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Excuse me. Is that not creepy enough for you, Barbara Starr?
That's pretty creepy.
That is President Bush.
One.
Well, 2 said it, and Clinton said it.
This was the best speech. You got that is the definitive clip.
So, let me just roll back just for a second here what she was telling us, just so we can see if that gels with what you just heard. Come on, Barbara. Talk to me, girl.
Generally accepted to be a conspiracy theory where people believe that there are elites out there forming some sort of special authoritarian government.
Yes.
This is the generally accepted view of what New World Order means.
That's exactly what President Bush said. Not some law of the jungle for you jungle bunnies.
Yeah. Nice try on the accent.
Yeah. Hey, want to smoke some weed?
Well, now that's falling apart.
Wow. No, I know. Well, it's actually I have. What do I have here? I've got a little. Hey, kids! It's ready to firewall. What do you think of the music? It might work.
We don't have to play any more of that character. It's
it's
I
played.
think we got the point.
It's played.
But let's play at least this one, which I think was one of these good little side stories that kind of came out of it. This is the LAX wrong guy syndrome.
Oh, yeah, this was another good one.
Them forever to get there.
Absolutely. And we heard earlier another witness told one of our reporters that as he was running away from the scene, he had police officers surround him, pointing guns at him, not knowing if he himself was a suspect, handcuffing him. So, just a scene of complete chaos. Our reporter Chris Wolf has been speaking with law enforcement officers. He was just at the press conference. He's joining us live now. Chris, what can you tell us?
Yeah, we had some questions answered, Carolyn and Glenn, and so many other pressing ones, though, not answered. And it was very frustrating for so many of the reporters out here. Very, very frustrating. Namely, were there any fatalities? Was anyone killed? We're seeing...
Here, I have something that I need to share that
Share it, my friend.
This was really the thing that set me on, okay, now I know something is up and bogative with this. The Southern Poverty Law Center. Okay.
Oh, you got what?
Yes. So the Southern Poverty. Let's just review who they are for a moment. The Southern Poverty Law Center is a group who are always referenced not just by media but also by politicians as tracking the evil that exists in America. Evil, primarily hate groups, white supremacists, racists. And I've always felt very uneasy about the Southern Poverty Law Center. They are the go-to guys. And they post on their website, Southern Poverty Law accounts, what is it, SPLC, exclusive. So they have an exclusive.
Well, they got a news organization going
apparently.
On?
Alleged LAX shooter referenced anti-government manifesto. So just think about what they're doing here. Ciancia's language and references...
this show is doomed.
Paul Anthony Ciancia, who allegedly wounded 3 other TSA workers before being shot and critically wounded himself, also expressed antagonism towards the Department of Homeland Security and its chief until she resigned in August. Janet Napolitano, the source said. Ciancia's note called former Janet Napolitano a bull dyke and contained the phrase, F you, Janet Napolitano. So this is an exclusive they have now.
This is... Stop the presses.
Hate Watch has no records of Ciancia, and he is not known to have joined or participated in the activities of any radical groups. The attack, which Ciancia allegedly carried out using a semi-automatic .223 caliber AR-15, boy, they have that information, huh? I guess they got all the forensics right off the bat. Beautiful. Comes at a time when the Patriot movement has been growing by leaps and bounds. From some 149 groups in 2008 to 1,360 last year, according to counts by the Southern Poverty Law Center. That explosive growth seems to have been driven by the election of our first black president and the approaching loss of a white majority in the U.S. that he represents. Fuck you. These guys are crazy. They are. This is racial hatred. These people should be shut down. That's not okay, John.
That is hatred, yeah.
That's
totally
not okay.
bad.
That is racist, outrageous crap.
Yeah, no, I'm all in on that. You're right. This is a horrible racist assertion.
I'm incensed.
You have to remember that Obama wouldn't be elected if it wasn't for the white vote.
Yeah, but forget about that. I'm incensed that these guys who are supposedly tracking racism, this is racist.
But this is not new to us.
No, but I'm out of breath.
MSNBC promotes this. You've been predicting it.
Oh, but I'm upset momentarily because after this I'm going to smoke some weed and I'll carry on with my life. But oh man, that's just so not okay. This is
stoking
stoking.
There's a bunch of people like that stoking the embers of a potential race riot. I'm convinced that I would put Al Sharpton into this group and a lot of others that would love to sit back. They won't be in it. Sit back and watch a race riot because there's money to be made.
This is
there's profit in a race, in a massive race.
So right. You're so right. This is written by Mark Potok. He's the senior fellow. He is the Southern Poverty Law Center. And I have a video and audio of him actually admitting that they lie. We have to trump it up a little bit. I mean, the guy is an asshole. I'm sorry. This is not okay. It's just not okay. This is un-American to do this. To say these groups, it's because of black president. Oh, please. You have no evidence of that. So it's even more disappointing. Really, really, for me, for the show, disappointing.
It's another installment of Dinner with the Obots.
Friday night.
Oh, no. You're telling me, wait a minute. So, in other words, this is just becoming a dead end.
Mm-hmm.
We have a jingle.
I know. We have a jingle, and it's a dead end. I could not, and I laid back a little bit.
You know what? You know what? I'm sounding like, you know what?
You know what?
You know what?
What?
You know what? Guess what? They have meetings before come over.
No. Not only that, they listen to the show before the dinner. They admitted that. We listened to the show.
Oh, this is no good.
No. I'm like, oh man. So they listened to the show.
So they suck now. They're just another group that you can hit. You might as well have dinner with a couple men on the street.
Well,
find somebody that doesn't listen to the show and have dinner with them.
Hold on a second. They don't suck. Don't say that. These are my friends. Because I felt it early on, and there is a total.
They're treating you like you're criminally insane.
No.
Do you feel good?
No, there's something else. No, there's something else going on, and I think that. So the narrative
Don't bring that up with him. Don't bring that up with him.
No.
Don't bring that up with him. We know what he's going to say. He's already said it on the show. Don't even talk about it. No.
It's possible they have that meeting. I think it's worse. I think they have become apathetic. Is that the word?
Could be.
Just unaffected. Now that they've given
Obama,
up.
There was that clip that we had from Glenn Greenwald last show where he says, how do the Democrats feel about this? They're all on the side of Bush. I mean, this, because Greenwald's a real progressive that thinks that Obama is Bush 3. And I think that there's a lot of that kind of thinking as the drone thing continues and the spying thing continues and this ludicrous healthcare.gov thing doesn't work and never will.
Yeah.
All that goes on, I think it throws a lot of the Democrats into a cocoon because they don't want to deal with it.
Well, you know what actually happened? The professor, I think the professor is on our side. There were so many. We did talk about healthcare.gov, and the professor, he has full access to one of the best supercomputer centers in the academic world. The UT supercomputer center and resources are better than Stanford. It's much better organized. It's more powerful.
I'm sure that's what they like to say.
No, I think they'll get there. Stanford just was late to the game somehow, and UT, it's kind of in their DNA to have this. But so he understands these big systems, and did talk about it a little bit, and he understands it's not just a stupid website. I mean, the guy he programs. That's part of what he does.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a big deal. Well, before you go on with that little explanation, we do have to play this one clip, which kind of gets people up to speed, which is healthcare.gov enrollment clip.
Newly revealed documents have provided hard numbers showing just how few people were able to enroll in health insurance through the new government website amidst massive technical failures. The Obama administration says there were 4.7 million unique visits to the site in the first 24 hours. But according to notes from a meeting on the morning after the launch, just 6 people had successfully enrolled.
Of course, it didn't work. It's very obvious. That's
I love that. Just 6 people.
Yeah. So, but just to stay with the dinner for a second, because there were some little gems. So that he just couldn't, he's like, yeah, this is a horrible mess, and we'd had a little bit of conversation. Like, do you think if commercial companies did this? I said, no. Tim, but there's a reason why you have to wait, 5 minutes to get your airline ticket. Because it's a batch process, and it took years for the airlines to integrate their legacy systems. I integrated Avon ladies. It took years for us to do that. The Avon ladies. The fucking Avon system. This is not easy. They're just hubris is what it is. Just hubris. So,
it's also naivete.
Naivete, but, I think part of that is hubris. But, so I think what's happening, and you see this with people we know as well. I don't want to point out the obvious, but, Leo, you see that they kind of give into it, and, and they just, it's hard for them to live with the idea that it is just more of the same. Hello to the new boss, same as the old boss, and so they just they put it's like shields up. Shields go up. Okay, whatever. We'll just deal with it as it is, as it comes. And so there was not even one single mention of crazy guns. In fact, this thing that happened, it's not even getting anti-gun stuff rolling. People don't care anymore, John. They've now become numb to it. If you can't throw stuff at people every 6 weeks and expect them to care after a while, because then it just becomes you become removed.
Well, there's a couple of problems with let's take the 6 weeks and assume that it's a well thought out cycle. It's probably the maximum number of times you can do this in a year, within a year, let's say. This is not, since we spotted it, this has obviously been studied.
You also know that Comey happened to be in L.A. The brand new director of the FBI just happened to be in Los Angeles when this went down.
By coincidence.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so you have this... you're inundating the public with these events that are all, the Boston bomber, or some one event or another, and you end up with and then you go for what you're going with. Let me try to get through this. You go with gun control as your issue, as the try to think, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get this guns thing taken care of. And then you roll out your gun proposals, and the group on the other side rolls out just inundates. They flood the market with reasons that this isn't going to work, why it's not a good idea. We got too many guns already. There's nothing you can do about it, and on and on. And so you do it again. You try something else, and then again, the flood of pro-gun stuff. And at some point, some of the pro-gun stuff starts to that you never heard before because you've always been anti-gun and you've never shot a gun, you've never done anything with guns, but you start hearing this, which you never would have heard before. This is like the popularization of MP3. This would have remained an underground phenomenon forever if it wasn't for the not the MP, but the RIAA suing left and right and losing every time. Suing over MP3s. Oh, these are illegal. You can't do it. Oh, you did. And people would say, I didn't know you could get music for free.
Hey, wait a minute.
I didn't know you could download all the stuff.
What's that Napster thing?
And it sounds pretty good, this music, even though it's in here. This is the problem with this approach to propagandizing the public. It fires.
And I will tell you, so even and it's kind of interesting because there was another person added to the mix, which may have influenced everything, by the way. Nice guy, Peter. He came stag, and he actually is a consultant for big data, kid you not, for Goldman Sachs.
Wow.
And he wasn't taking the bait. But you know what? I learned a lot. So and I think Lori at one point said, "Oh, just so you know, everything you say here can be used on the show." I'm like, oh. Okay, so and I, quite honestly, I'm like, I don't want to be like some kind of rodeo clown that shows up and you.
Here he comes.
Woo, let's tell him something kooky.
Throw balloons at him.
Water balloons. So what actually happened is, so there was a very interesting mix, and actually Molly Wood landed like at 8 o'clock, and she came over, and so. Okay. It was kind of it was a real OBOT dinner, no doubt about it. But there was no, the conversations were, are we in a tech bubble? We talked about books. There was no political, and there was every reason, and there was alcohol involved. So people can they should be slipping up, and I was nudging here and there just a little bit. We just had the Texas Supreme Court. Overturn, the objections against the abortion law.
Right, you have a whole spiel on that.
So there was a whole bunch of stuff to go, and it just didn't happen, John. Now, of course...
So you don't blame yourself? Because you maybe, as somebody wrote into me, and I'll reveal this. I mean, I don't know if you got a copy of this letter. It says, I think Adam has become a stooge for the OBOTs. He's been going to too many dinners. He's starting to get influence. You can hear it in some of his analysis.
Oh, what?
He's been corrupted by the OBOT group that he keeps hanging out with. That's what this guy said.
Hold on a second. Is this from Brian?
I don't remember who it was. This was a couple weeks ago.
Oh, because let me give you this, because someone said that we were both corrupted. Have you been compromised? This question is similar to, have you stopped beating your wife? In that there is no good answer. But after I listened to Thursday's show, I feel like I have to ask. For months, I've listened to you guys rail against the NSA, Kaiser Alexander, domestic spying, so on and so forth. Now, all of a sudden, you're flipping the script and saying that it's the CIA and Alexander's just their bitch? Did the NSA get to you? Do they have a record of your Silk Road purchases and are holding it over your head? What's their leverage, Curry? I didn't expect a direct response or anything, but I think it would be worth a minute or two of Sunday's show to reassure your faithful listeners. But then again, like I said, there's no good answer to the question. After all, a denial is exactly what someone who was compromised would offer, right?
No, this is not that guy.
Okay. All right, it's not that guy.
But he makes a point.
But, Mickey is my witness, and that she would not mess around. It just didn't really happen, and I think it's good.
Maybe they drugged the food.
What did happen is I pretty much just sat next to the professor and picked his brain for 3 hours.
Yeah, you were supposed to ask him some specific questions.
Yes. So first of all, Lumosity. The Bogative brain training.
I saw a radio ad for that the other day.
Yeah, you saw the radio ad. My God, you're good.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So we talked about Lumosity. First of all, he had heard us talk about neuroelasticity, which is in the Lumosity advertising. He said, that is crap. Neuroplasticity is a real word. Neuroelasticity says made up. Totally made up.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, well, can this... and then he said, this is not neuroscience. These brain games are psychology. So I thought that was good. And so the question, of course, was, if you do these puzzles, does it really make you smarter, as kind of the claim is? And he did not dismiss it immediately. He said, well, anything you do, like we had suggested, read a book, just as valid. But if you really want to sharpen up your brain, to train your brain, to exercise your brain, he says the best thing you can do is go for a walk. He says physical exercise, jogging, that really does it. He says everything else is maybe valid, maybe not, depends on the test, whatever, but physical exercise is always going to be the absolute best. And then I learned something that you and I may want to look at as a business. There is quite a business to be made, I think, in managing hotshot professors. These guys are like basketball stars. They get offers from all over the country, from schools, and they're flying them out, throwing hookers at them. It's like, first class hotels. Come look at our facility. And these guys have no idea how to do it. They're like, okay. They have no idea how to manage their own careers. And that's it. Is there like an agency for professors? No, not that I know of. We'll do it.
Well, actually, you could probably do a management group that would handle this. It would be the same as the sports management operations.
Yes, exactly.
More so than celebrity management, which is different than sports management.
No, first of all,
it's similar but different.
I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's down to negotiating, the package. It's the salary, it's the resources, it's a whole bunch of stuff. And what I see a lot of these guys doing now that I've heard some of the stories is, they get invited, they go out, they get wined and dined. I'm like, no, you're not going anywhere anymore. This is it, done. You're staying home, have them call me, I'll talk to them. Just write down the number that you want. We can go get that for you. I just found it to be amazing that there's no company that does that. It's like a sports representation, like a sports agency.
Probably the thing to do is look into how sports transitioned from what it was to what it is with all these agents.
Right.
And you'd probably see the same pattern. It's a fractal. Sports is based on Hollywood celebrities and how they're handled, and then they said, "Why we can do that with these guys?" Well, you could probably do it with these superstar professors, especially nowadays when the universities all have this huge budgets and they're gouging the students.
Yep.
Multi-billion-dollar operations. They're bigger than most sports franchises.
Exactly.
By a lot.
And you get a name, the name comes in, it's marketed, it's a big deal, it's great for the endowment, it's great for, these guys are writing grants, you can write the grant and not submit it and take that part with you, which could be money in the bank. I also talked to the professor, I said, just stop running after NIH money, man, go after DOD. MK Ultra 2, come on, let's do something real here.
MK Ultra 2.
It was fun. The whole table's
that would be bigger money. I agree. NIH money's got to be crap compared to DOD money.
Here's the funny thing. He's on the floor, and the whole table's like, what's MK Ultra? And he's like, he knew everything.
That's funny because my experience, it's usually the left that knows more about MK Ultra than the right does.
The only one who knew it was the professor. He's the only one that knew about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I consider that to be highly weird.
Yeah, and then we talked about a whole bunch of stuff like can we make MRIs, home-based MRIs. It's a tough racket the guy's in.
Racket.
It's a racket. No, I read all his grants. It's fantastic. This is why that's why I like talking to him. This is good. I think he's a valuable resource as the official brain professor of the No Agenda show. He's also a nice guy, and I like having these dinners, and I learn a lot. But I think as a mockery, I think it may be over. I think the mockery of my friends may just not work anymore.
Yeah, probably won't. But yeah, that again, maybe because you've gotten too close to the source.
It's possible. It doesn't mean we're not going to continue to do it. Because
of course, so what did they serve for food?
Korean was interesting.
Korean? What Korean is in the audience?
I don't know exactly what this was, or why it was Korean. But they had like the Korean squid and which is interesting taste. The shrimp and some of it's rather spicy, kind of hot.
Did you have a million little dishes of crazy things?
Yeah, but then we all had like a big thing of beef.
Right.
Which I don't know if that was necessarily Korean.
Oh no, yeah, it is. That is the Korean thing.
Yeah, that was quite outstanding. I had 2 pieces of the beef, and then what do you call it? Creme brulee, homemade creme brulee.
The Korean version?
Yes.
With hot chilies in it?
And the professor, I think he brought a torch from the lab. Mickey took a picture of it. He was like standing 4 feet away. It was pretty funny. Yeah, he's
supposed to put those in a salamander to do it right, but okay.
What's a salamander?
It's like a broiler. It's got real high heat.
They don't have a salamander. I don't think they have that. So it was great. The dinner was great, and everything was great, and it was great. It was just no mockery. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's the way it goes.
It's another installment of Dinner with the Oba.
And let me say to you, John C. Dvorak, in the morning.
Yeah, in the morning to you too, Adam Curry, sellout. In the morning, all the tips at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dates and nights.
You call me a sellout? Really? Wow. Okay. No, all right, fine. Just because I can't make it up. I can't make up stuff. That's harsh. Well, in the morning, everyone there in the chat room, noagendastream.com, noagendachat.net. And in the morning to our artists, apologies to Nick the Rat. Omitted thanking him for the artwork on episode 560. And then we had Joss Pettigrew, who did the artwork for 561. Now, always curious to see what shows up at noagendaartgenerator.com. We always choose the art right after the show, so get your entries in as soon as possible. This is a value-for-value program. The list is going to be short today, but we do have, I think, 2 executive producers and an associate executive producer, just like Hollywood. They are the ones that are get the credits right up front for producing the program by supporting it in, financially, but more ways than one often. And who do we have, John?
We don't have much. Mm-hmm. We do have, by the way, a couple of little things on the side that I wanted to mention. Tim Shannon, one of our contributors, says he just came in with this note I thought was good. Probably the only producer to be sacked while listening to No Agenda.
Yeah.
On 328, listening on the stream when the man, woman, but looks like a dude, taps me on the shoulder, fired.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up, man.
And he requests a Dr. Kiki Karma if you can give him one.
So he was listening.
Being fired.
He was listening to the show. Maybe he was
at work.
Yeah, maybe you should pay attention to driving the bus instead of listening to the show. Then no wonder you got fired.
Shut up already. Science.
Here's your karma, man.
You've got karma.
I'm sure you'll land on your feet.
Yeah, you'll bounce back. So keep listening to the show. Robert Alter came in. We have 2 executive producers and 1 lone associate executive. Robert Alter, 333 in the morning. I've been working in Paris for the last few months and need some karma to help make this project end smoothly.
No, absolutely. Smooth ending karma for you, Robert.
You've got karma.
In Gay Paris.
In Elkins, West Virginia. Sir Random Hillbilly. Came with some money so Miss Mickey can get her massage this month. Tell Adam to suck it up. Not quite sure what that refers to.
I don't know, but I will.
Jeffrey, and then for associate executive producer, we have Jeffrey Fitch out of Windermere, Florida, 21278, and all he has to say to us is thank you for your courage.
Thank you for your courage, Jeffrey. We appreciate that. And that is it, right, for the
that is it. That's it. All through, all done. Go to noagendashow.com, noagendanation.com, or Dvorak.org/NA, and channeldvorak.com/NA. But Dvorak.org/NA to help us bring the numbers up a little bit for the next show on Thursday, as we begin a new 6-week cycle.
That's right. And we'll be on the lookout for December 13th.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And remember, we can always use a little bit of propagation of Da Formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order. Order.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
Now, before we move on, John, there's a couple of things. It's the start of a new month. It is also here in the United States of Gitmo Nation, the entrance of daylight savings time. The clocks fell back 1 hour, and I'm always complaining about this.
Except in Arizona.
Hawaii, and I think Utah also does not observe.
Oh, I didn't know about Utah, but Arizona for sure.
And I decided, because I'm always very skeptical, and it was for farmers. Benjamin Franklin came up with it. It saves electricity. It saves lives. Whatever. I've always been quite certain that whoever's New World Order entities are behind this, they're making a bundle on it, and we're just stupid. And I think my main thinking has always been it's just pure slave training. Let's just see what we can make them do, like deal. But I looked at all the all the different legislation that has dealt with this, as recent as 2007, actually, when we had the Energy Policy Act, and this really didn't have that much to do with policy. I think I've discovered what it really is about, because there's one term that keeps coming back, starting with the Uniform Time Act of 1966, which is really when we codified the daylight savings time, the original daylight savings time, and the time zones.
No, that's not the original.
No. Listen to me. The Uniform Time Act of 1966 included the codification of the time zones that we have in the United States into our law books. And I have the term that really makes the most sense for daylight savings time and why time zones are in place in the United States. And the term is convenience of commerce. And I think that makes the most sense as the reason why we have this, is to make sure people shop more.
Well, it was... It goes back so far, though, that I think this is a good theory.
Well, it's not a theory. It's they write it in the law. It says for the convenience of commerce.
Point, but they were pushing this back for farmers.
Oh,
let me just go what I know. I know that in the 20s it was a big deal. It was first invented. I'm looking at the wiki page now. In 1895, it came around.
That was Franklin.
There's a huge. I have a bunch of clips. I don't have them on. I'll bring them out from. They're old clips from the mid-30s where Hollywood was irked about this because daylight savings time was going to screw up movie show times.
Right.
So they had all these Hollywood characters coming out saying how terrible the idea was. And then the argument became, well, it was, and this always baffled me because it makes zero sense. It's for the farmers. So they don't have to get up. So the farmers can get up at any time. It doesn't make it, there shouldn't even be a clock.
Yeah.
They just get up and do whatever they do and they're done.
Yeah.
It's like the bitching about with the bread makers. Oh, they should be getting up at 5, not 4. They just what they do.
Yeah.
So the shopping thing is probably the only thing that kind of makes sense.
Makes sense.
Because it's like, it's still daylight. I know when you're up in Washington State during the summer, it's kind of interesting because the sun doesn't really set. And I was in Iceland where the sun never set in the summer. You're up there and it's like 10:30 when it finally sets. And you go, oh, we didn't eat dinner yet. We were out. You were out when it's sunny. You're just not in eating dinner.
Exactly.
And then just like, oh, my God, it's almost midnight. We haven't eaten.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very strange phenomenon, but it has to do with the daylight, usable daylight hours. And I think they try to make it so when you get up, it's like you're starting to deal with usable daylight hours because that shifts just enough that I guess they could change the time and make people shop more.
Of all the things, in 1966, it came back in 96, I think, and then 2007, because we changed the time. It was supposed to be the first Sunday in November, then it was the last Sunday in October, and which is different from Europe. Now we're all screwed up, but every single time it says convenience of commerce. I'm like, yeah, well, that actually I'll buy. That it's to get people to shop longer and save that. That could be billions of dollars. It could be a lot of money.
It would be billions of dollars.
Okay, a couple other things.
If people are shopping an hour more, then it would be billions. Yeah.
We need to say in the morning to all of the boys in the Boneyard. That's Palm Springs Pride is today. It's like all the senior citizen gay guys. They call themselves the Boneyard.
People the gays that live in Palm Springs,
the old guys, yeah, they say the Palm Springs Pride is the Boneyard.
Have you ever been to Palm Springs?
Yeah. Not on Pride Day.
I didn't know they had a Pride Day.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then we have just a slew of presidential proclamations. This is the month, John. We picked a month to celebrate. Let's see what we got. All by presidential proclamation. Remember when it just used to be simple? It was like American History Month or Fire Prevention Month. Smokey the Bear says, remember how that was easy? No.
It was usually a month. It wasn't 20 things a month.
No. It is National Diabetes Month. It is.
No, we already had National Diabetes Week.
Yeah, but this is the month.
Huh.
It is National Entrepreneurship Month. It is National Military Family Month. And it is National Native American Heritage Month. Go Redskins. It is National Adoption Month.
So how come the Redskins are like under this attack? I saw the Cleveland Indians for some reason. But the Redskins right now is at the focus of attention when you have one of the top football teams in the country, the Florida State Seminoles.
Oh, please, John, it's just cultural
Marxism. Brings
Marxism.
out some guy, an Indian guy, comes running out on a horse and stabs this field with his spear.
It's cultural Marxism.
That's not offensive?
It's cultural Marxism. Just ignore all that. And it's easy because it is also National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month. We forgive you if you forgot about it. It is National Family Caregivers Month. But then here's the one that I like the most, which coincided nicely with the movie on the Nat Geo channel and with a brand new executive order. It is National Critical Infrastructure Security and Resilience Month.
Oh, brother. Why do you even bother with this? This segment of the show borders on crazy.
This is very important. Now, first of all, if the president is going to proclaim something and no one is going to report on it, why don't we at least look at it? And this is not by accident that it is.
It's funny that the movie appeared in the same period of time, yes. Did you see the movie, by the way?
I did, and I can tell you the movie was a piece of crap. We're talking about the movie Blackout, and the only reason for it was to promote doomsday preppers for Sweeps Week.
Okay, right.
That's all they did. They actually had little chyrons during the movie. It said, like, there are 3 million preppers in America. I was like, it was so blatantly obvious. It was disgusting. Now, this presidential proclamation of Critical Infrastructure Security and Resilience Month does not come without reason. The president released an executive order, a very long and detailed one, called Preparing the United States for the Impact of Climate Change.
Oh.
And this is a very, very detailed, very broad-reaching, I would say, executive order, which is law when the president does this. And I'll just read you a little bit of Section 1. Policy, the impacts of climate change, including an increase in prolonged periods of excessively high temperatures, more heavy downpours, an increase in wildfires, more severe droughts, permafrost thawing, ocean acidification, and sea level rise are already affecting communities, natural resources, ecosystems, economies, and public health across the nation. And then the president goes into essentially giving every single agency in these United States power to do anything to halt this. Now, what is interesting is that in this executive order, he refers to Presidential Policy Directive 21. And this is where your month comes into play. Because, of course, we have Presidential Policy Directive 21, which is Critical Infrastructure Security and Resilience. Gee, how coincidental is that? And this is all about cybersecurity. So
yeah, that's what you see. This is what we should be going into. This is where the big dough is going to be blown. I mean, the government's got all this money that they collect, and they got to spend it on stuff by scaring the public into thinking they need these things. And the cybersecurity thing is going to be a huge bonanza for anyone who can figure out. I mean, if you got guys, these ex-CIA guys, what's his name? I can't remember his name, but you've seen him a million times. And all these other characters who know nothing about computers. I would put probably Alexander into that category.
Yeah.
And all they do is talk about the cybersecurity threat and how we got to spend $400 billion to protect the networks. This means this is just money.
The Department of Justice, including the Federal Bureau of Investigation, shall lead counterterrorism and counterintelligence investigations and related law enforcement activities across the critical infrastructure sectors, which includes telecommunications, Department of Justice shall investigate, disrupt, prosecute, and otherwise reduce foreign intelligent terrorist and other threats to and actual or attempted attacks on or sabotage of the nation's critical infrastructure. The FBI also conducts domestic collection, analysis, and dissemination of cyber threat information and shall be responsible for the operation of the National Cyber Investigative Joint Task Force. The NCIJTF serves as a multi-agency national focal point for coordinating, integrating, and sharing pertinent information related to cyber threat investigations and representation from DHS, the intelligence community, Department of Defense, and other agencies as appropriate. FBI is now basically given full reign to spy on American citizens in name of critical infrastructure security and resilience under the preparation for impacts of climate change. It's crazy.
It makes nothing but sense.
But that's really what's happening.
Huh.
And then to celebrate this wonderful operation with Critical Infrastructure Security and Resilience Month is just throwing it in our face, icing on the cake. So while we're all preoccupied with the NSA,
or LAX,
for that case, and by the way, I was quite happy that we had at least a change of some sort. You know, we need.
I was thinking the same thing. It was really getting the show, especially I liked the last show. I think it was reflected in our donations. The amount of really cool things we had to talk about and deconstruct is really, it kept being the same thing. I mean, who needs this NSA? You know, I admire Glenn Greenwald in this regard. He knows how to dole it out. You know, you're starting to forget about it. Here's another little one. You're starting to forget about it. Here's another little one, which drives apparently the intelligence community crazy.
Well, no.
If it was all dumped at once,
it drives
would have been forgotten by now.
It drives the NSA crazy.
Yeah, right. The CIA is probably behind it. They probably did a study saying, look, this is the way you do it. You do it. No, don't bring this all out at once. No. You're an idiot.
It's funny because the New York Times came out, I think it was either this morning or last night, with a very detailed, huge, wham-a-lamma ding-dong doozy of an article. Let me just see what it was called here. It was just like, whoa, this was the big one. And it includes so much about the NSA specifically, but even admits in the article, well, there's stuff that we have in the documents that we agreed with the NSA and the administration not to publish, because that's what they do. Everything is already known. But all of a sudden, it dawned on me because there's a little small thing that changed, and unfortunately, it happened at the Council on Foreign Relations, and I could not find video or audio of it. I do have the transcript. Kaiser Alexander was at the Council on Foreign Relations. I guess the guy, is a glutton for punishment or something. And Democrat state senator of Maryland pressed Alexander.
Wait, stop a second. So, there's a glutton. Why is this guy who used to be unknown to everybody because the NSA was a super secret thing? Why is this guy? I saw him twice this week. Once he was speaking in front of some group that said Symantec behind him, and then he was with some other group, talking, and then he's in front of Congress. This guy's hardly much of a... He reminds me of these mafia guys who all of a sudden decide to be highly public.
Well, remember, he's leaving. So now he's going to cash in on his political capital.
Yeah, right. He has to get a rep for himself so he can get a couple of those board seats on General Electric.
Right.
We can almost predict the companies.
Yeah, it's like, how about Symantec?
Okay, good one. He'll be on Symantec. He'll be on General Electric. He'll be on, let's see, what other people? IBM?
Probably.
He's got to be on IBM.
He's probably talking to Mike Morell of the CIA as well, who all of a sudden comes out.
Maybe Apple, because Apple sold out.
Apple would be good. Yeah, Apple would be good. Well, anyway, let me just tell you what happened there, because I all of a sudden I'm like, oh, hold on a second. There's another little edge to this, and an email you sent me ties into this. So this Democratic state senator, I'm going to quote from the article. pressed Alexander to give a national security justification for the agency's use of surveillance tools intended for combating terrorism against democratically elected leaders and private businesses. So it's no longer about citizens like us. We all joke that everyone is spying on everyone, Alexander said, but that is not a national security justification. Alexander replied, here's the reply, that's a great question, which is not, of course. In fact, as an ambassador, you have part of the answer because we, the intelligence agencies, don't come up with the requirements. The policymakers come up with the requirements. One of those groups would have been, let me think, hold on, oh, yeah, ambassadors. So now he's slamming the State Department. And if you'll recall, there was a WikiLeaks cable where Hillary Clinton was ordering diplomats to spy on UN leaders. And I think, particularly if you take all of this into account, that the State Department, beside the CIA, the State Department may have a hand in deflecting anything away from Hillary's spying initiatives to put it all onto the NSA because Hillary's going to make a run. And we need to start running interference now and putting the blame squarely on other people. And I think if you look at the closeness between State Department and CIA, it makes a lot of sense those two are playing together.
There are some other documents that kind of push this theory. Yeah, could be.
There's and this, of course, comes down to we've got.
I like this. I like that. We got to keep the Hillary angle going because Hillary is still working. She's working it. She's got her face done.
Did you see that the reporter she made $400,000 in speaking fees from Goldman Sachs
already?
Yeah.
By the way,
two speeches. Two speeches.
Let's get a couple of things straight about this. This is essentially a way of bribing somebody.
Yes.
So what you do, you got somebody out of office. It's not the same with a retired president, but it's kind of. It's with the retired president, you do these high, $1 million speaking engagements because you had promised them. You couldn't do anything when they were in office. You just said, "Don't worry, we'll make it up to you." And so when you do them the bidding, you're the president. This country's been this way forever, by the way. You do the bidding of this operator, the Saudis or whoever it is that you're in bed with, and you don't, there's no necessarily a paper trail except for millions of $5 donations that get anonymized. So after you're out, which is always a big fear about the Clinton Library, is that then all of a sudden you get $10 million gift to the Clinton Library, and you get another $20 million, you get another $50 million. And so now Hillary is essentially getting paid in advance because she's not in office, so this is not corrupt.
No.
But she's getting paid in advance by Goldman Sachs because her speaking fee is $200,000. Really?
Hillary, according to the New York Times, Hillary Clinton spoke at two separate Goldman Sachs events on the evenings of Thursday, October 24th and Tuesday, October 29th. Clinton's fee is approximately $200,000 per speech, New York Times says.
Yeah, it's called a fee schedule.
Yeah.
In this case, it's not a speaking fee. It's a fee schedule. It's like, here's what I want from you. This reminds me of another interesting scam. The people always talk about this. Oh, these Japanese golf clubs. If you join a country club in Japan, it costs you like $100,000 a year and $10,000 a month. It's not what this is all about because they tried to pull the scam by the Japanese operation wanted to buy the Pebble Beach in Monterey, and then it started to come out what was really going on. The Yakuza are behind these things, and what happens? You offend a Yakuza boss. And then they say, okay, we can kill you, but instead we want you to join the country club. And so you become a member of this, what's essentially a Yakuza front, and you're essentially giving them $100,000. It's just like
to not kill you.
This is extortion,
right?
And essentially what Hillary's doing is extorting her fee of if I become president, who knows what can happen. I think you guys owe me a couple of speeches.
And by the way, I think it would be much more. I think that's cheap for where she's at.
She knows her worth.
No, another person we could manage. Hillary, by the way,
she's poorly managed. We know that because of the first when she ran against Obama.
Yeah,
she just had a bunch of these sycophants that were useless, and they lost the election to Obama.
Yes.
I was an amateur.
Let me. Oh my God! Did you hear about this new book?
No.
Oh wow! Hold on a second. It's called Double Down, and I have it here. It's not out yet, but the pre-promotion is just fantastic. In it, the claim is that Obama is talking about how good he is at killing people with drones. I love that. It's like, woo! Can't wait to read that book. Here's the Bill Maher show. He had director Rob Reiner on.
I'm a huge fan of Hillary Clinton's. I'm a friend of Hillary Clinton's. I don't know what she's going to do. I don't know what her plans are. But if she decides to run, you will have the single most qualified person ever to run for president of the United States.
I
agree.
And let me say,
wait, hold on a second. Let's just sit on that for a second. The single most qualified person to have ever run.
No, he didn't say that. No, he didn't say that.
I'm a huge fan of Hillary Clinton's. I'm a friend of Hillary Clinton's. I don't know what she's going to do. I don't know what her plans are. But if she decides to run, you will have the single most qualified person ever to run for president.
Ever. You're right. He said ever. Yeah, that's bullcrap. But now,
you really?
Right now, as it stands, I think she's the single most qualified person to run to be president. Absolutely. Well, absolutely. I want her to be
but the way he said it, she's more qualified than George Washington.
No, that's bullcrap. But if you look at the lay of the land, and you know my stance on her. You know I want her to be president. You know why too.
Yeah, because you have a death wish.
Let's listen.
You think Obama likes using drones?
So, that is the land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
That's right.
Always a winner.
Yeah, it is. No, I think if you take our country for what it is, and what we really do as a political imperialist capitalist bully, there is no better. And whereas the Democrats at the election of Obama everyone was so all in and crying and happy and hands across the border and the races and we all love each other and it's going to be great and we can overcome and we can
They were
rule.
all crying. Yes. We forget that.
Yes, no. And it was a great vibe. It was a great moment for the country. Unfortunately, those of us who looked into the background of Obama knew that there was not a lot of substance there. A one-time senator rammed right through. Whoops, here he is. What? But you take Hillary Clinton, who any political leader knows will kill you for just looking at her the wrong way. Google Clinton body count. She takes no prisoners. This woman will kill you. She will. She is connected to all of the military-industrial complex, to the oil cabal. She is fantastic, and she's a woman, so we can all feel great about, what is it now? What is the meme? Shattering the ceiling? Is that what she's going to do? That is going to be...
Shattering something.
She's going to shatter the glass ceiling, and it could turn us around. I'm not saying this is the way it should be. I would prefer unicorns and rainbows and everyone loving and, we are the world and all that crap. But who else, John? Does she not have everything we need to get back on top and scare the bejesus out of the rest of the world? She's a Republican.
Well, Bill was a Republican the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Exactly.
actually, what these people represent is what politicos like to call neoliberals. And they do have a tendency toward the New World Order, very much in line with the George Bush 1.
Mm-hmm.
And they tend to be sociopaths. I think it was said more than a few times that Bill Clinton is definitely one.
But if you look at...
And she's got to be one, too.
Yeah, really? You think? And by the way, Huma will look great in the White House?
Well, don't forget, we have it in the books that before the election, if she's actually running, and she will be, because all I know is every day I get, that's too soon. Bull crap. They got this Ready for Hillary campaign, which is wearing thin.
Yeah.
They're asking for the $5 and the $3 and all the rest of it. And I get the mailing from them, and it's like, we did this and we did that. We're great. And Hillary's got to do it. We're going to do everything we can to get her to run, like she's not going to run. But it'll be interesting. I think it's.
Can you think of any?
I'd rather not have her as president.
Of course, John. I love the world. I love people. Of course, I want to be. But we've been doing this long enough, and you see really what's going on, and just look at the United States of Europe, and just look at. No one cares about their citizens.
Well, let's go over a couple of things quickly.
Okay.
One is your assertion when you did the Hot Pockets 2002 tour, whatever year that phony year was, and you went to D.C. and you were assured by some insider, Washington insiders, that Hillary could not possibly run. She wouldn't be allowed to run because of one thing or another, and they were going to scuttle her campaign if she attempted to run.
Well, what
came of that?
It was the Secret Service, and if you have not followed the news, we've had a couple of arrests, we've had a couple of dismissals, and we've had a couple of suicides. Secret Service has been cleaned up. We just had a suicide just like last week of a Secret Service guy. Hold on.
So you think the Clinton clicker, body count clicker, is back in action? Somebody's got their thumb on the wheel again?
It never went away. What are you talking about?
Well, I don't know. The Clinton body count thing seems to have slowed down.
Oh, please. Here, let me just get the Secret Service guy who committed suicide. U.S. Secret Service agent found dead, apparent suicide, October 27th, 2013. Law enforcement, Special Agent Rafael Prieto was under investigation for having an unreported romantic relationship with a foreign national. Yeah.
So he killed himself?
Yeah, 2 shots to the head, gun in the left hand. I'm going to kill myself. Yeah, so he committed suicide. We've had, but remember the whole hookers in...
I know.
Yeah. So
remember that.
We've cleaned
covered
up.
It extensively.
We've cleaned up the Secret Service. We've cleaned that up. This is what they're so good at, the Clintons. But really, come on. I mean, we really have to be honest on this show. And this is what America does. We are the 800-pound gorilla, and we just have a very weak leader right now that everyone thought was going to be, the great savior, and it didn't work out. And I think having a woman, which will 50% of the voting public will love that. I think I can fairly say that. I don't know many women who say they hate her and wouldn't want her.
There are some women that do that.
Of course.
There's a lot of Hillary haters.
Of course. I can't generalize, but in general, it would be another historic moment. It's set up. She knows everyone. She has the goods on everyone. Come on. She's an expert at this. She's been doing it all her life. Who else is qualified? Ted Cruz? Please.
Yeah, that guy's not presentable. That's the problem with Ted Cruz.
The Republican Party, it doesn't even exist anymore. It's blown up. There's nothing left. No one cares. This woman is it. Get ready for it. You might as well just prepare.
Well, I'm not going to argue the point because I put it in the book years ago that she was going to run and win after she lost to Obama, and they did the quid pro quo that got her the Secretary of State job, which just bolstered it. If he hadn't have done that, if he had any nerve, he wouldn't have put her in check, because that kept her in the eyes of the public long enough to make some waves, meet a few people around the world. She was just traveling constantly, just glad handing and setting up the future. And then now she's still in the public eye, and she should be able to coast to an easy win.
So if you take my view, which increasingly has become,
and I'll be voting Libertarian once again.
I don't think I'm going to vote at all. I'm just done.
Well, it's probably the right move.
Why? I'm just not going to. Why? Why even bother? I just sit on the sidelines and armchair quarterback it. What was I going to say?
Have you ever run into these women who are just like Hillary? They're just like they swoon when they talk about Hillary.
Sure. But,
Hillary.
But can you deny that she would not be great if you just take into account of what we really are as a country? We go into other countries.
We take a look at the worst side of the United States, the worst possible way of defining us. Yes, she'd be fantastic.
Thank
she'd be
you.
the first emperor.
Thank you. Empress.
Yes. Cleopatra we have here, a homely version.
By the way, that was another irritating thing at the Obama bot dinner.
Wait a minute. What was the first irritating thing?
No, everything was irritating about show prep. But I threw out the Bill Gates as a eugenicist.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa! So his dad was a eugenicist, and it was all, we had a eugenic society, and and everyone was like, nah! And the professor went, no, that's absolutely true. And he was on my side. He was like, yeah, no, we had all this technology of,
What they did, wait a minute, hold on a second.
I'm telling you.
Again, from my experience as a liberal at the University of California, it's the liberals who knew and bitched and moaned about the eugenicist movement in the United States in the 1920s, which led to what the fascists used on the Jews.
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
It was all of our concepts and ideas.
Yes, our technology.
Purifying the races and all the rest of it. These people who claim to be liberals didn't know about this?
No one has ever claimed they're liberal to me.
So
You've met them. You've met them.
Yeah, I have met them. And when the husband who apparently would never sit down with a Republican, they said.
No, that's other people. That's the other Obots. They're not part of the dinner group.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I sat down with this. Okay, whatever the case was, I don't know what to look for anymore when it comes to old school liberal Democrats.
I think it's gone. I think they're
all old hippies, and they just, hey, don't you remember when we used to say question authority? Because that used to be a bumper sticker in Berkeley.
Yeah.
Question authority. Now this is whatever Obama, they should change it to whatever Obama says goes.
No, I think something's changing, man. It's changing. Everyone is bummed out. And yeah, we're bummed out because we're stupid. We're, as a country, we look lame. We're not doing anything. Everyone's broke. Now we're taking away food stamp. We're dumbed down. We're taking food stamp money away from the 47 million people who are on it.
1 in 7.
Yeah, this is not good.
I don't personally get the point of that. I do have a clip that, since we're kind of on that, I might as well just play it, which is the food stamp clip. And I actually had to cut this way down because it was
long.
It was really long. They were going back and forth because it was on the news hour. And the clip is called
Foof Stamps.
Yeah, that must be it.
Another John C. Dvorak clip naming.
I think the numbers have gone up so high in terms of the number of people and I think part of it is the economy. No one could deny that. There's serious rates of unemployment that continue. But this program also is rife with fraud. It has an outreach to bring people in. Another thing that they've done is get rid of the asset limits, which were traditionally part of this program. You can have $1 million in the bank. You're unemployed. You can get into food stamps now. That's an outrage. We also have weaker work requirements on this program than we do on the programs for single mothers. An able-bodied 20-year-old who's not working isn't required to do a single thing to get his food stamp benefits. I think that's an abuse of the taxpayer. It's probably not good for the recipient either.
Okay, here's a couple of things I want to bring up here. The food stamp thing. This actually goes back to arguments about welfare. It made a little more sense maybe in the 60s and 70s to go on and on about people who are able-bodied and they were getting free money. In today's market, you can't get a job, so let's just drop that. There's no jobs out there in most of the country, so we can't say, oh, he's able-bodied, he should get a job. Get a job where? He has to move to China or Indonesia to get a job. So let's just drop that part of it. But the thing that bugs me the most is this rife with fraud. You run into this with the welfare programs of the past. You run into it with food stamps. Rife with fraud. You run into it with Medicare. Rife with fraud. Why don't these people set up an enforcement mechanism? It is not rocket science. Half the country is a bunch of police anyway. That's if you want a job, you get a job as a cop. Why don't they put together some enforcement, some toothed enforcement so you can investigate the fraud, bust people, throw them into the prison system where they will have a job working for the prison system, the federal prison government slave system. But they never do that. They just bitch about it. Oh, it's rife with fraud. Well, what are you going to do about it? Why don't you do something about the fraud instead of complaining about, oh, it's rife with fraud, so let's shut it down? What kind of logic is this?
Well, the reason why I believe this is discussed this way is because the real fraud, the huge fraud, of course, is people like this, people who are on the inside, people who play in the markets, have inside knowledge, are part of the free money being printed, being invested. Everyone's it's a big, huge bonanza. That's the real fraud. And that is kind of what the original first week of Occupy Wall Street was about until it got hijacked for a moment, for a very hijacked. In the first week.
It was like the Tea Party got hijacked. Yeah. It was originally Ron Paul.
For the moment, there was a very, very short time when it was like, holy crap, this is great. Oh damn.
That's about how long it was.
And it was, and I will remind everybody,
this will be co-opted in 10, 9,
and the 8. Mainstream media refused to report on Occupy Wall Street.
We talked about that on the show.
For weeks until it was co-opted.
No, we talked. I remember this because we were on the show and we were both befuddled and commenting on Occupy. We were reporting on it and what was going on, and we had all kinds of clips from some obscure places. But there was no mainstream. They weren't discussed. It was just like some demonstration, useless. And then once it was co-opted and they could be, ridiculed and whatever they did. I can't remember all the details now, but they were done. And then when the cops came in and tear gassed them out of there and busted heads,
but by then it was already co-opted. That went so quick. The mainstream media was kept out of it specifically and on purpose until the messaging was ready, until the unions were in, and then it was done. So there was a brief moment.
About a couple weeks.
Yeah. It's interesting because we had old Watermelon Head. So we had this big thing that the president, everyone was a part of it. Come invest in America. It's the open government. What is it called? It's like the open government, whatever. And they invite it's kind of like a big trade thing and invite everybody over. And all of a sudden it becomes very clear what the strategy is for the United States. If you look now at the euro, let's see, euro to dollar rate, it'll freak you out, by the way, because we have
it's about 139.
Yeah, almost 140.
Yeah. I keep tabs on it.
Yeah, this has gone up 8-9% in the past month alone, maybe.
Yeah, it has. It's gone up. Should be worth about $1.15.
Right.
And they have propped it up somehow, and I don't know what. I think it's good for our exporting.
Or
that there is no better place in the world to invest than here in America. And there's no better time to do it in many ways than right now, because some of the growth and development of the last few years has sort of equalized out in some places. So that manufacturing, as the Secretary said, the number of manufacturing jobs here are now growing in manufacturing again.
Manufacturing. We are now China. We are cheap. We have people who will do anything. They will, and this is, I'm convinced. And Kerry is so on the sales track for this, he'll even back out of us being exceptional.
Because it's competitive again for a lot of different reasons. So make no mistake, as we look ahead to the major trends that are going to define this new age, the factors that will determine which countries thrive, as well as which businesses thrive in this competitive marketplace, I think it's crystal clear that the United States is going to continue, because it's the nature and base of our economy, not because we're somehow...
Yeah, you're talking over the punchline. Hold on.
Wait. He says...
Go ahead.
He said... Yeah, you can back it up to get the punchline. He says we're pretty sure. It didn't say pretty sure, but he says we're pretty sure the United States will continue to survive. Or what's he talking about?
Let's listen again to that last bit there.
Clear that the United States is going to continue because it's the nature and base of our economy, not because we're somehow superior or somehow better. It's just the nature of how we have grown and where we've come from the Industrial Revolution all the way through the 1990s and the tech explosion and into where we are now. We will continue to lead the world.
That's what it is.
Yeah, so we're going to lead the world, but we're going to lead the world by setting up factories. And this is kind of where it gets a little crappy because, factories pollute and I'm talking about smokestacks, but there's all kinds of, other stuff that comes along with it that's going to be very problematic with the way we've set up our EPA, etc. But that is our future. I think our future is manufacturing, and it will take a couple generations because the way we make stuff is not really all that great. But honestly, I don't think we're fantastic at making stuff.
No, our products are mediocre.
Yeah, at best.
Generally speaking.
Yeah. Well, we'll get better.
We make a lot, but many of it, a lot of it's innovative. Or innovative.
Innovative.
Innovative. It's very innovative.
But when you really,
the Google Glass, for example, is made in China.
Yeah.
And by the way, luckily somebody just got arrested for driving with Google Glasses on.
A ticket, not arrested. A ticket.
Okay, ticket. They got a ticket, but they should be arrested. You shouldn't be driving around with Google Glasses. This is not good. JC pointed out he had some documentation discussing I guess there's some good studies now that show that texting while driving or dealing with your phone at all, except for speaking, is more dangerous than drunk driving by a huge factor.
Oh, I believe that. I believe it for sure. There's no law in Texas against that. There's no...
You can drink while you're driving. You can drink a beer while you're driving.
No, there's no text and driving law.
Well, there should be.
Well, we have pretty big roads. Pretty long, boring. It's like, whatever. Don't worry about it. The president, of course, surprised me once again with his little podcast there. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. On Thursday, I addressed a conference for business leaders from around the world. And my pitch was simple.
I love that my pitch was simple. What are you trying
What is he, a sales guy?
Yeah, he's talking to VC, I guess. I don't know.
Choose America. Invest in America. Create jobs in America. It speaks to my top priority as president.
Oh, we know what the top priority is, don't we? Yeah, it's protecting the American people.
Growing our economy.
What?
Creating good jobs. Strengthening security and opportunity.
He keeps changing it.
But it was supposed to be protecting the American people.
No, he changed it. He doesn't think it's important anymore.
Well, that's very disappointing.
All right. Well, I guess that just putting Obama on kills the show.
It's not meant to kill the show. It's just when I look at where we are in the situation. Let's just take away all the lies that, the unemployment is like, 7% or whatever. That
lie.
We know it's a quarter of the workforce is unemployed. If we look at where we can go, do you see any other solution other than becoming a manufacturing nation?
Of laborers.
Yeah.
No.
Do you see any other way out? I mean, and that's I don't think it's bad necessarily. I mean, we all want to be super smart and send your kid to college and become a lawyer, but we just don't need them anymore. We need workers. We need people, blue collar stuff. I know it doesn't fit with the narrative of the extraordinary American people, but that will get us out of whatever. It
won't. That's bull crap. The whole thing is a scam. These guys still get cheaper labor elsewhere. I mean, right now, Indonesia apparently is the cheapest place. And it's like these international companies are so big and they're heavy-footed. And let's just move all this. They can move their whole facility. They got bean counters. They got spreadsheets. My wife would always say, spreadsheets have ruined the world. You put the spreadsheet together and you push a button and it says, oh, yeah, it's going to cost you $2 billion to move everything to Indonesia. But according to this calculation, it will pay for itself in 1.5 years. So everything gets moved. I mean, it's all spreadsheets, because normally no one would have taken these chances unless they can't put it down on paper. That's how high tech works. High tech guy comes in and he's got a new chip, a new piece of software. He's got some bullcrap widget. He goes into the CEO, and he says, look, here's the thing we got. This replaces all these other things you have. And look, what you pay for this to replace all the other stuff will pay for itself 10 times over within a year. You'll be making that much more money. You're crazy not to buy it. And you look at the numbers, and it's true, so you buy it. And this is the new sales pitch. It's a pay for itself fast enough. I did a story once for Forbes on the emerging LED markets, and this guy who's a big LED guy, one of the big companies, he says, well, yeah, we're getting to the point where LEDs are going to be cheaper than fluorescents, and everyone's going to have to replace everything, all the incandescents and fluorescents, with LEDs. He says, I said, why don't all the stop signs in all the municipalities do that? He says, well, right now it's like a 2-year payout before the LEDs will pay for themselves and then start having benefits. And he says most municipal elections are about 2 years. So unless you can make the money within the election cycle so the guy can get reelected,
why bother?
They won't buy it.
Right. It's so true, though. And I love looking at the light bulbs. Guaranteed 1,000 hours.
Bull crap.
No, but that's
you're talking about those little compact fluorescents?
No, just light bulb. I'm not talking about LEDs.
Oh yeah, no light bulbs, but compact fluorescents to me are the biggest.
Hold on. Easy. I'm talking about the bullshit planned obsolescence. Where
they're planned.
The light bulbs. They literally. I have 6 light bulbs in the kitchen. They all go out within a day of each other.
Yeah,
it's completely programmed and planned. And it's moving to LED even in the home it's a little investment, but it makes a lot of sense.
Eventually, yeah, because you don't have. But the fluorescent, the stopgap, these fluorescents, these things are a total scam ripoff.
Yeah,
they don't last as long as they do, or they say they do, and actually after they're lit for a while, they start getting dull. They don't give off. They have a little moment, like a week, where they give off the claimed lumens, and then all of a sudden they start getting. It's terrible.
Hey, speaking of spreadsheet, John, I got an idea.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
We have a few people to thank, and we will. Chad Watson in Euless, Texas. No comment, $166.66. Barry in H-Town. $125. In Pearland, Texas, we got Texans coming in. Thank you.
Yay.
I've been a boner for some time, he says, due to some prior comments John made about my hometown representative Sheila Jackson Lee.
Yeah.
But this 6-week cycle occurrence has me spooked. And I'm forced to donate.
It shouldn't worry you too much.
Yeah, well, he wants to hear Al Sharpton conflict karma, if you can do that, since we're a little light today.
I wonder, is it, yes, and a karma?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
There's no real conflict.
You've got karma.
Yeah,
Jim Cash, Indianapolis, Indiana, 125. Timothy Shannon, Seattle, Washington. Make it rain with 11111. Up next, Bambi. Bambi to the stage.
That's right, making it rain. You get your jingle.
Jeffrey Yerke, $111.11, Concord, California. Give it up for Raven. And finally, Jonathan Carey from Old Fallon, Missouri. Straight from Reseda, here she is, Raven. Give it up.
Winners.
I don't understand why you get such a big kick out of that. Anonymous, $100 in Somewhere, Oklahoma. Matthew Thomas in Bruner, Missouri, 7777.
69, dudes.
Garrett is saving the day with Thunder Bay, Ontario, 6969. Ryan Nestler, also 6969 from Altura, Minnesota. Craig Kuttner in Norwalk, Connecticut. Wilson Rondini in Boulder, Colorado. Dave Carey in Parts Unknown. And finally, not quite finally, but Samuel Gorski in Howell, Michigan. And finally, Macy Prochowski in Stade Deutschland.
69, dudes!
And then we have people who listen to the show in real time, no matter when it's happening. They never miss an episode, never skip ahead, and are just behind. And that's why they're coming to the table now with Sacks of Sixes for our 6th anniversary, which is extremely
I mentioned that we're keeping it open until midnight.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right.
In the newsletter. I encourage
that's true. Yeah, true. I'm sorry. Good.
And the 666s are the Gary Howell in Houston, Texas. We got a lot of Texans today. Keith Edwards in Gilbert, Arizona. Christopher Gray in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Kelly McLemore in Brownsboro, Texas, again. Mm-hmm. Matthew Donahue in Culver City, California. Israel Biz Reg, KYC, Israel in Petah Tikva in Israel. Earth Pulse Technologies in Stuart, Florida. John Cook in Issaquah, Washington. Keith Chamberlain in Medford, Oregon. Nice area. Wine growing. Matthew Wittering in Bedfordshire. Charles Walters in Schaumburg, Illinois. Colin Peterson in Bellingham, Washington is in. That's the end of that. We're at 65-66. And he said he was a week late and $1 short.
Oh, okay, that's cool. We'll take it. Armin Breuer actually sent a note. Hey, John and Adam, it's been a while since I've donated to the best podcast in the universe, and he kicks off our $50 donors. I could really use some health karma. I have a personal nerve dysfunction, and after 2 MRIs and 3 X-rays, the doctor still can't seem to find out why. It's not an injury, not a disc issue, not MS. Nothing degenerative, curious, but since NA Karma works, I thought I'd give it a shot. Well, I mean, I sure hope so, man. We're not exactly doctors on this show,
to say the least.
But we do.
You've got karma.
We do believe in positive vibes. Positive vibes.
And we can dole it out.
We can dole it out for sure. I hope it works out for you, man.
Yeah, really, we need
healthy. We need healthy listeners. Is what we need,
especially our Vienna man.
Yes,
our man in Vienna, where all the people exchange notes. And finally, we got 2 $50 donors left, which include Sir Brett Farrell in Oklahoma City and Greg Brunsell in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
And
I think people that donate lesser amounts for this show $562. I'll get it eventually. Go to Dvorak.org/NA for the Thursday show, and let's see if we can get more interest. But this show's a little more interesting than our last show.
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
I think the LAX shooting, the way we beat it up, was outstanding.
I love it when we beat it off. That's really good. We're outstanding at that.
That's you.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that about you.
All right. Well, help us out for the Thursday show. This is a value for value proposition. There's no other way for us to make money because we couldn't talk about most of the topics the way we discuss them. That's why you don't see this kind of analysis anywhere but here. Because people go after our advertisers that try and bring us down. They wouldn't advertise at all.
We've been off 2 years ago. If we had if we relied on advertising, we'd been done within the 3 years of the show.
Dude, I'd be living in LA, trying to get Paris Hilton into the Mevio studios. Are you kidding me? That's what I'd be doing.
Dvorak.org/NA. It's your birthday.
So we have no knightings, no title changes, but we do have 2 birthdays. Rick Dulcini turns 46 on November 5th, so we say happy birthday in advance. And Craig Kuttner celebrates happy birthday from your buds here, the best podcast in the universe.
It's your birthday, yeah.
That was a short donation segment.
That's all that it is. I've heard something funny that someone pointed out to me. One of our, this is, again, one of these things where if you're watching, you don't hear it, but if you just listen, then you hear it. And he actually sent this to me, and I was like, what are you talking about? You know how I'm always joking about Angela Merkel being a dude?
Well, she has the facial features of a guy.
Bob Woodward, famous journalist, agrees with me.
Kill this person because we think he might be a terrorist, or, in some cases, they have these signature strikes. Well, it looks like terrorists. They're doing things like terrorists do, so let's kill him. Or let's get Chancellor Merkel's conversations on a cell phone. Now, what's interesting...
Did you hear it?
On his cell phone.
I just love that. Good old Bob.
I have a clip on signature strikes that was kind of interesting that he'd mention it.
The Redux? I got signature strikes Redux. Is that it?
Yeah, that must be it.
What we saw was a segment about something called signature strikes. What they are literally are guesses about what people are doing based on their behavior, not who they are, not what they've done, not that we have any information about them. So literally some bureaucrat someplace is guessing that they might one day possibly do bad things and people are being killed. This was the leadership of that community, 45 people decimated, again, based on no hard information, no judge, no jury, no trial. Even if people are in favor of drone strikes, signature strikes are beyond outrageous, and there can be legislative solutions to that, and I hope there will be.
And of course, the signature strikes also create a direct line to the president, don't they, in terms of his having to approve them?
Well, the president approves the so-called kill list, which is the individuals. With the signature strikes, which supposedly they're moving away from, it's not really clear who approves or decides that. What we understand is it's the CIA who now believes they are so wise they can see thousands of miles away people sitting in a circle with guns. Oh yes, they must be bad guys. Let's kill them.
That's your CIA. That's the guys you don't talk about. That's the guys we don't talk about. CIA, killing people. Signature strikes, surgical.
They apparently wiped out some village elders and some 40. That's where the 45 dead.
Yeah.
There's some big meeting they were having, it's like a town hall meeting in Vermont, and they're all standing around bitching about whatever, and they, boom, just kill all 45 of them, one signature strike.
Yeah.
So that seems to be annoying a lot of people.
There's a little bit of development around. There's a new player who's an old player in the Snowden thing. Let me just see. I had a number of. So actually, we do need to talk about. I hate to do it. We do need to go back for a second because there's two pieces of legislation. Now, and one has already passed through the committee. This is the Feinstein legislation. And I have both of them marked up in the show notes, 562.nashownotes.com. I am not going to, it is impossible actually for me to analyze these on the show because what the Feinstein stuff does, and also the USA Freedom Act, which is entered by Leahy, amongst others, really refer to all this other legislation, and it's really doing nothing more than solidifying what is already there, but just putting a couple of parameters around it. And in Feinstein's case, it's really to make sure that she's told of everything, so that if they have the goods on her, I guess she can interject. And that is seen by most as really just codifying what is already being done. And again, it's only about the NSA. It's not about the CIA or about the FBI or the National Reconnaissance Office or any of that. It's only about the NSA, which makes sense because as I, at least from my perspective, where the NSA is just a big data suck-up storage situation, we just want to know who's... and that literally, if you look at the legislation, it's about who's retrieving the information, who can request information, who can request a search, what the parameters of the search are. It's just so the policymakers and the people who also can be spied on have control over that situation. Then we have, that's already passed through the House Intelligence Committee. That's probably what's going to pass. Then we have this USA Freedom Act, which has been endorsed by by Silicon Valley. And they sent a letter. I don't know if you saw this letter, John. It's AOL, Apple, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and Yahoo. And they sent this open letter to Leahy, Lee, Conyers, and Sensenbrenner, who are all sponsors of the USA Freedom Act. And I'll just say this is why they are supporting this USA Freedom Act. Our companies have consistently made clear that we only respond to legal demands for customer and user information that are targeted and specific. Allowing companies to be transparent about the number and nature of requests will help the public better understand the facts about the government's authority to compel technology companies to disclose user data and how technology companies respond to targeted legal demands we receive. Transparency in this regard will also help to counter erroneous reports that we permit illegal agencies, quote, direct access to our company's servers. And this is interesting to me that these companies are sponsoring this bill, and this USA Freedom Act actually stands for, I have it here, it stands for, it's kind of a funny name. Where the hell is it? Oh, that's the FISA improvements. I'm sorry. I'll get it in a second. It's really Leahy who was one of the authors of the Patriot Act. He was pissed about a signing statement that took place about Section 106A or something.
Wasn't 215?
No, of the Patriot Act.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, not so the Patriot Act has 106A, which is about who can access certain information. It's really it's his way of getting back at the signing statement that came out with the Patriot Act. But what's sad about it is it really is more of the same. It's just saying, okay, we can spy on people, and we'll allow an, what do you call it? What's the legal term for it? An amicus curiae, is that how you pronounce it? Curiae.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Which is basically an independent party to oversee the spying operation.
It may have been 215 because 215 does refer to the Patriot Act. It's 702 that refers to FISA.
No, I'll find it right here. It's 106A. Hold on, I got it here, John. I went through this all last night. It's just not all that interesting because it's really just he has a hard-on about something that he got screwed on in his initial legislation or whatever. It's kind of a get back at the Republicans thing or something. It's really a little weak. But what you're seeing is that the technology companies, they're kind of getting a free ride because, yeah, there's all this collection, but both of these bills are really about under which circumstances the government can go to these very companies who sent the letter and get your shit. That's really what this is about, and that they can do this with clean hands, a pure heart, because it's legal under the law. But this really leaves the door wide open to just leave these companies. Because that is you don't even have to do anything special to circumvent what the government is doing anymore. Just don't use Gmail. Just don't use Yahoo. Just don't, you just don't need to use it anymore if you really care. Certainly don't use Facebook. That's all you have to do. Because if you do, you essentially are buying into the system that is now being codified to specifically allow these companies to hand over your information to the government under, the typical laws. If someone could be killed, it's not even terrorism anymore. If someone's in danger of death, they can hand over your information. If either of these acts pass.
If someone's not paying their taxes?
No. Unless
they got to fix that.
Unless you can somehow relate that to death. It's very simple queries like what selectors can be used. It's national security. It's easy. National security. You can put that in however you want it. They're trying to bring in the Civil Liberties Oversight Board. They've changed some things, like they want to now have the audit for. Remember the immunity the telcos got.
Yes, of course.
Yes, so they want
2008, I believe,
up until 2007.
So
they want to move that and include 2010 through 2013. So there's extra immunity stuff in here. It is for the Silicon Valley companies, this USA Freedom Act, to give them free rein to just, under the right circumstances, to hand over your stuff to the government. And people just seem to be okay with that. And I don't understand why we're allowing ourselves to be trapped like this. It's not necessary anymore, is it?
Well, what you're saying, when you say trapped, what you're saying is that we don't need Microsoft anymore, really. We don't really need Yahoo for sure.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, you might be in a sewing club, and then you want to meet with Yahoo groups and discuss knitting techniques.
Right, but I mean,
people do that.
But the only thing that this is a much broader conversation, of course, but the only thing these companies do is connect people and try to make money off of it by making the connection. But then anything else you do, they're just using you to make money. Whereas really,
you're a product.
Yeah, I mean, we have a chat room, and so people can come in here and connect. I mean, there's no one's making money off of that. It's a non-money making operation. It's open 24 hours a day. You can go in and connect, and then you can talk on email or whatever. You don't really need these companies. We've been conditioned into thinking that we need them. You don't really need Gmail. 100 people can surely share one email server that will work. And
you can have a lot more than 100 people sharing an email server. Those things are low bandwidth.
Sure, but you understand the point that I'm making is that we don't need these companies. And I think they're a little afraid that one day someone might kind of figure that out and it might become like a thing. We have seen big companies go down in the past, that people thought would never go away. Even MySpace in recent memory.
Well, MySpace is still there.
Yeah, but
it's not what it was. And same with LiveJournal.
Mm-hmm.
They're all progenitors of Facebook, which is now.
Sure. But look at this podcast. We don't need Google.
No, we don't need anything. We don't need Google. We don't. And that's true. We don't need it. People have said to us that we should be streaming over Google. What is it called?
Hangouts.
Hangouts.
Yeah, why would we do that?
I was thinking about that. What is I've never been to a hangout.
Oh, me neither. But
I don't even understand why I guess the name maybe got some attraction to that.
Because the president does it and the vice president, and they get people. This PR. It's like Twitter. Now, I read their S1 document. I've filed one myself in my career, and I've taken a company public, and I find it interesting to see what they're doing. This company has no actual visibility of being profitable. They really don't. Now, they may not care, but when you look at it really just purely at what it is, the concept of making money off of something that the internet inherently can do, but just because you've created this place where you make the connection and you lock everybody in and lock all development out, which is what they've done. There's no developers can make any more apps or anything. And so they have the audience, but isn't it amazing that you can have 100 million people using your product that you can't make money? This is dumb.
Well, that's there is a thesis in Silicon Valley that you get the eyeballs first, you figure out how to make money second.
Right. Well, we've been through this, and it's called a bubble, and it will explode eventually, and then we go around and do it again because it just doesn't work.
Well, let's talk about that for just one quick second, because I got an email from one of my friends who works for the New York Times, and he says he's freaked out because he's seen this 2 or 3 times, these bubbles. And he, like a lot of people, see that, wow, isn't this just like 1999? And I want to remind people that there's a couple of things you should note. One is that if you think you're in a bubble, you're not in it yet.
It's just is that fact? Is that
well? It's pretty much, generally speaking, when you're in a bubble, when it goes, no one's saying anything. It's like, oh no, this is fine. Maybe there'll be a bubble. It doesn't look like a bubble, or it looked like a bubble, but it turns out it's not a bubble. It's always this, everybody's the stock market recommended buy is always at the top. I know it's gone up 10x, but buy more. It's going to go up it's going to double. I mean, everybody's, kind of up. When there's kind of skeptical, this could be a bubble. It's the bubble. It's going to pop. We're doomed. That never happens during that period because everybody's too cautious.
Right.
So I think the bubble's a ways away. And I think we've only been seeing the beginning of we haven't seen any real we haven't, we don't have pets.com and Webvan and all these things.
Well, if you look at valuations of a lot of this stuff, everything that has .io after its name, there's a lot. There is this Ponzi scheme of the angel investors they flip stuff as quickly as possible to VC for like the typical, A round. And then basically they just, everyone, as long as you can have an Instagram once in a while, or something like that you can sell to essentially Google or Facebook, then that's it. That, I think, isn't that kind of what everyone's after?
Everybody wants to make $1 billion selling on Instagram.
Right. But is there anything, can you think of one, product, let's just call it .com product,
I'll tell you this.
That has any semblance of existence.
I look at these. You look at these lists of these investors, especially the angel guys, and what they've invested in. There are literally 1,000 companies with kind of, maybe some of them have a half-baked idea. Some of the ideas are stupid, but they're just kind of it just doesn't feel like 99 to me. In 99, because I was doing the Silicon Spin show, and I was always like befuddled by this, again, because I have these executives at the table, and we'd be talking about what seemed like crazy talk, and you'd hear things like just the new. My favorite one was just well, you don't get it, Dvorak. It's a new economy.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I remember those new economy things. You don't get it. You're dumb. Yeah,
you don't get it. It was always the term. You don't get it. It's a new economy. It's a new economy. And all stores are going to be out of business. Everything was going to be done on the internet. We had a lot of that. And we had all these other. And then you had these crazy things like Webvan, which never made any sense to me. And the newer versions of it still don't make sense to me because it's too expensive.
Now, what was Webvan for?
Webvan was they home deliver your groceries.
Right.
So they would, the startup companies would get a lot of deliveries because people were working their butts off and they never went home. But the Webvan idea was never really a really good idea. Pets.com was the worst of the group.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, you have FedEx because you're too lazy to get off your ass and get in the car and go to the store.
Right.
You have FedEx deliver dog food to the house.
Right.
Now, this made no sense to me. And you bring it up with these guys one after another. And these are, CEO level guys. And they say, no, you don't get it. It's a new economy. I'm not hearing anything to that extreme. Just, you don't get it. It's new economy. I got nothing like that going on. Everyone's very cautious and circumspect, so it's not a bubble.
Well, maybe it's not a bubble in the financial sense, rather than a bubble in that the people are now sucked in, and no one knows. Kids are not being taught how to. I mean, if you look at it objectively, kids are not even being taught what a file system is. Seriously, the file system is being hidden. Just take it away. And I think it's very sad that innovation is being kind of hidden from view. How things work. How it's.
Yeah,
it's kind of like cars. What happened with cars, and we've kind of seen.
People don't know how they operate. They don't know how. No idea. They don't know what a motor does.
I have no idea how that works, and now, of course, cars aren't necessarily a bubble, but it just feels like there's a lot being. We're putting a lot of our lives, of our digital lives, our information, our history. We're putting it into these places and systems, and it's vacuous. It's going to, a lot of it is just going to disappear, will go away, and it leads to nothing except help the surveillance state and make us dependent on.
No, the surveillance state is.
Well, it makes us it makes us dependent upon technology that others are managing for us when we could pretty much manage a lot of it ourselves. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
I think you're living in a dream world if you actually even think that's possible anymore. Talking about this,
well, let that be my dream world.
The dream world concept is this. Let me play two clips. Since we're talking about financials and stuff, I just happened coincidentally got these clips because I thought they were funny. They were taken from Frontline. This is a guy interviewing a fund manager at Prudential Insurance about all the research that's been done over the last number of years about index funds versus mutual funds, and this is part one of index funds.
You want to explain what these are? Do you need to set that up?
Index fund is where you're just essentially invest in a fund that reflects, for example, this S&P 500, and it just whatever that the S&P 500 does is you get the benefits. If it goes up, it goes down, and it goes up and down. But if you look over like a 100-year period, if there was such a thing as an index fund in the Dow Jones 100 years ago, you'd be filthy rich, because if you really look, I mean, this market goes up and down, but overall it's going up to the right.
Right.
And mutual funds, of course, are where you have an expert that picks all these funds.
A fund manager.
A manager. They manage and they take, let's put a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then they supposedly have all these funds for different kinds of investors. They got the conservative, and they got the guy who just wants to make some money from bonds, which is all bull crap, because they always end up putting the money in the same fund, in the same stocks anyway. But it's beside the point. So this is the kind of, now you're talking about delusional. This is what we're talking. This is why
are you calling me delusional?
You said that there's a lot of delusional
investments. Yes.
Delusion. There's a lot of it.
Yeah.
So play Index Funds Part 1, and you'll hear this part of it.
Year after year, actively managed mutual funds fail to beat index funds. Studies have borne this out repeatedly over various time periods, in bull and bear markets. I asked the head of retirement at Prudential, which markets dozens of actively managed funds, what she thought about this.
Yeah, I haven't seen any research that substantiates that. I mean, I don't know whether it's true or not. I honestly have not seen any research that substantiates that.
So all the research that's done at Vanguard that makes that argument, you've looked at that?
No, I haven't. I haven't read everything. But it so much of it depends on, what I need is different than what you need, and there's not an asset allocation or a fund strategy that's right for everybody.
Wow. That's great. I have never looked at a spreadsheet.
I never looked. No, what I love about the pitch is that everybody has their own needs. This is like going into a winery. It bugs me to know, and by the way, what everybody wants is to take a bunch of money and either keep that money so it doesn't go anywhere or make more money. That's pretty general. That's about it. It's like you go into the winery and there's a bunch of wines there, and you look at the list, there's a bunch of them, and you ask the person, and you know that there's a couple famous wines that these guys make. Say, what's your best, so you want to do some wine tasting? I said, I just want to taste a couple of wines. What is your best wine? Now, I don't care what anybody says. There's always a best wine. There's a worst wine too, but there's a best wine. And then when you get this answer, everybody has their own taste. I just usually walk out.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Because that doesn't tell me anything. No. Everybody has their own taste. So in other words, if there was some skunk pee, somebody would like that. Is that what you're telling me? I just find it incredibly insulting. So the guy in the show, on the Frontline show, now he goes to another expert, not a fund manager, but an analyst, to discuss what he just discussed with this nutball from Prudential, who apparently just could, I don't know, it makes no sense.
I've never seen any research on that.
And so he gets kind of an interesting answer.
I talked to one woman at Prudential who's head of retirement and asked her if she was aware of the studies that showed that index funds did better over time than the actively managed funds, and she says she wasn't.
That's unbelievable. I find that actually unbelievable.
These people that are in the business know that the index funds do better, right?
They convince themselves that's not true. When I've talked to these people.
But wait a minute. All the studies, how can they convince themselves that's not true?
Because they're convinced they're recommending the fund that's going to do better.
This is not a time when you want to be buying index.
And of course there are hot funds.
This is not gambling. It's investing.
It's now up 10 points.
The financial media loves them.
Fund, the best performing U.S.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, well, it's because if everybody went with index funds, there'd be nothing to talk about on CNBC. You don't have anything to sell the advertisers. This again kind of reflects on our show. It's all part of the commercial mercantile scene. It's all bull crap.
I have a little interesting thing in that vein that I picked up. One of our producers is just a total big pharma nut. And she loves researching stuff and sending, and worse than I am. You know how I am with the big pharma stuff. And this also, it kind of shows you how the scam works. This is Gwen Olson. That's not our producer, but Gwen Olson is, she used to be a rep for big pharma selling to doctors and hospitals. And she talks specifically about, I'll let it play for itself, but she connects the dots between two drugs and the one company that makes them, which is just really, really cool. And it's about the cholesterol lowering drugs and the knowledge that actually, the cholesterol does not necessarily cause heart attacks, but when you lower someone's cholesterol too low, it can cause a whole bunch of other problems, one of which we've heard about.
They know that cholesterol isn't what causes heart attacks, but as long as they're making billions of dollars off of cholesterol-lowering drugs, they are going to sell them to you, and they are going to convince you that you have to take a drug to be healthy. But they taught me, as the rep selling the drugs, that, hey, guess what? You can lower cholesterol too much. And if you do that, you can wreak havoc in every other body system that you have. In fact, all of the clinical data shows that people with lower cholesterol levels, especially those over the age of 55, if they have lower cholesterol levels, they will die of other things such as cancer, autoimmune disorder. They can also have severe impotence. Well, they won't die from impotence, but it might be a major imposition on them. And that is one of the major side effects that we're seeing with the cholesterol-lowering drugs, is impotence. Let's take the cholesterol drugs, for example. Does anybody know what the #1 cholesterol-lowering drug is right now that's on the market? It's called Lipitor. Okay? Now, the same manufacturer that makes Lipitor, their #2 selling drug is Viagra. Hey!
Go Pfizer!
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a good one.
I'd never heard it spelled out that way.
She's good. That's borderline clip of the day. I'm almost going to give it to you.
That's beautiful, though, isn't it? It's like, hey, first let's make him impotent, then let's give him a drug for it.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. Yeah, so that's how this. I was reading an analysis of like 401k, how that is actually like a huge scam. That really the fees that they take, if you do the math, which is, it boggles my mind because it's just math. But the way the fees schedule works on 401ks, that at the end of 30 years or something, some crazy amount, like 70% of your money is actually gone to the bank in fees.
Yeah, the 401k thing is disconcerting.
I'm not sure how it works, but it's there's a lot of stuff on the internet you can read about. It's like it turns out it's not such a great deal.
While you were on the drug topic, I do have a drug clip.
Yay.
There was a woman that was, this is part of, I guess, a made-for-TV documentary or something. She's irked about, she was taking some breast cancer drug, and she was finding that they would point her, the insurance company would say, you got to buy from these guys, there was a huge, this is part of that scam that, especially this is a generic drug. And she went and she documented the difference in prices. And you see this every once in a while when you're searching for something on Amazon. There'll be like a film canister, 25 cents plus shipping. And then you'll see the same film canister for $2,000. Have you ever noticed this? There'll be something
that's money laundering, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's money laundering going on with some of these items.
Yeah.
But listen to this clip. This is the drug price variation clip.
One store quoted a price 40 times more than the other. How could that be? Especially when generic drugs are commonly thought to be so inexpensive.
I was shocked. I was confused. I thought, what am I missing? This doesn't compute.
Thompson, who'd never been a consumer activist, said she felt compelled to try to figure this out.
I started just on my own to phone some other pharmacies in the Twin Cities here.
Last June, she made another round of calls like she did more than a year prior. And what she found was that nothing had changed. Wildly varying prices for her generic breast cancer drug.
How can I help you?
Hi, I'd like to find out what the retail price is for a 30-day supply of a generic drug called Letrozole.
$11.04.
It's $29.88.
$45.99. This is $364.99.
Ooh, I didn't realize it was that much. It's $435.
$455.
It didn't seem fair, and it seemed to me especially egregious when it involved a life-saving cancer drug. It just upset me.
Wow.
So this is the part of this insurance scam that's going around, too, because we've seen this. the drug companies, and of course the generic drug companies have been bought up by the real drug companies to make this even more complicated.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the Bertha Foundation guy did. He sold his generic. He was kicking the drug company's ass. Sold his generics company to what's with the G?
Glaxo,
yeah, and it became Glaxo Generics. They own the whole industry.
So you run into the situation. Of course, the insurance company is collecting. You know, they're involved in this somehow. There's kickbacks. I mean, this is all corrupt. When you have price ranges that she outlined from $11 to $450 for the same exact product, there is a corrupt aspect to it. I don't know what specifically it is, but it's obviously a corrupt situation, and this is really intolerable.
Well, Hillary Clinton, when she's president, will put an end to all of that. Guarantee you. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
All right, let me just see if I got anything left. Big solar flares. We've had a whole bunch. We had an X flare. That's nothing really fantastic, but I am keeping an eye on it. There's really not much. Yeah, well, we have these protests going on in Brittany, in France.
Oh, that's nothing. I got a clip blitz here.
Clip blitz. Hit me,
yeah,
brother.
A bunch of clips.
Let's do it. End of show.
Short
clip
and
blitz.
sweet.
Yes. What do
Here
we got?
Here we go. Ready?
Right. Yeah. Well, give me a chance.
You think that the problems in Brittany? Play beheadings in Brazil.
All right. Clip blitz.
Another dark cloud has cast a shadow over the build-up to the 2014 World Cup in Brazil after a former pro football player was found decapitated in Rio de Janeiro this week. The head of João Rodrigo Santos was found outside his home in the early hours of Tuesday. The motive for the crime remains unclear, although the victim's wife reportedly worked for the military police in one of Rio's pacification units designed to crack down on gang activity. The incident comes 3 months after an amateur referee in northern Brazil was decapitated after he fatally stabbed a player for refusing to leave the pitch.
Yes, that's how professional sports should be played everywhere, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, Clip Blitz continues.
Okay, here's another thing. Now, you're talking about, a protest in Brittany. Here, play the Kenya. And by the way, we talked about Kenya being a crap hole. Play this Kenya horror story.
In Nairobi, Kenya, hundreds of people took to the streets to protest sexual violence after a 16-year-old girl was gang raped and her accused rapists were freed. The victim, known as Liz, was beaten, raped, and left for dead in a pit latrine in June. She suffered severe injuries, including a broken back, and is now confined to a wheelchair. Liz identified 3 of 6 alleged attackers, but their only punishment was being forced to mow the police station lawn.
It's funny you say this because this morning when we were having this conversation about how people are upset about maybe someone being shot at the airport, I actually said, the atrocities that go on in the world are so much larger and so crazy that we don't hear about ever.
I know, we don't.
Clip Blitz is good. What's next, John, on your Clip Blitz?
All right, naming cats.
Okay, this is great.
Jeannie, Jasmine, Big Mickey, Little Mickey, Ray, Zany, Gray, Forrest Gump, he's a little slow. Jeannie, Jasmine, Ginger, Spice, Cookie, Candy, Gina, Daphne, and Tucker.
What the heck is this?
700 cats.
What is this?
No,
I heard
it's a woman with 700 cats is a new series on one of these stupid channels.
Someone told me, and I didn't look up the article. There was a New York Times article about how cats are responsible for killing millions of people a year around the world.
Oh, with that disease they've got?
No, they did. Well, first of all, they kill every single animal in the world. They're like, they kill 2 billion birds, 12.3 billion animals, and millions of people. Cats, man. You think Al Qaeda is bad? We need to be looking at these cats.
I don't trust cats.
I don't trust them either. They're very, very
So just
sketchy.
to the last clip, this is a little long one we have to play, but there's a show on called Teen Kids News. It's once a week, and there's a bunch of teenagers that...
And where do I find this show? What channel?
Oh, it's on... I think it's on a PBS channel or something. You have to look it up. Teen Kids News. It's a weekly news program, a news magazine.
Nice.
Essentially done by teens, and it's usually pretty idiotic. But they had this one where they went out in the streets and they asked kids, like teens, young teens, who are most of them don't remember 9/11 because they're not old enough. 9/11's getting pretty long in the tooth. And so they ask them about the terrorism thing, and all the kids are scared to death, except one or two, which is interesting. But then they summarize at the very end with a couple of tips that I know you're going to get a big kick out of.
We want to know, how safe do you feel America is from a terrorist attack?
I feel that we've stepped up our security since 9/11 has happened, and we're more aware of what's going on now, so we have troops around to protect us, and in case anything does happen, I think we'll be ready for it.
Honestly, I don't think it's very safe. I mean, you're always going to find somebody or something, like we could have a plane hover over our head and drop a bomb on us right now. But the security systems at the airports have definitely improved, especially on internationals, and I think it's getting much less of a threat than it was before, like in 9/11.
How safe do you feel America is from terrorist attack?
I think America is very safe from terrorist attacks because ever since 9/11, we've increased all forms of security, including at airports and other places where people come into the country.
Well, safe in the sense that I don't believe anything would happen, but not safe in the fact that people are always worrying about it. So it's almost better off to be unsafe than to, like, for example, on the anniversary of 9/11, it was almost worse than anything happening, the nervousness over what could happen.
Well, honestly, I don't feel that we're that safe because, it's a very diverse country. There's, different types of people in the country and people coming in every day. So, it's not far from, today or tomorrow that something bad might happen. We're not that safe.
Pretty safe.
After 9/11, I think it has improved a lot. But before, it could obviously use some tweaking. But now I feel pretty confident that it's fine.
With the death of Osama bin Laden, the world is probably a bit safer today than it was on 9/11. But that doesn't mean we should let our guard down. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has this advice. If you see something, say something. Report suspicious activity to the police or call 911. For Teen Kids News, I'm Diu.
Well, John, I have to say, right on the cusp of ending the show, you get the clip of the day. Clip of the day. I literally have chills going up and down my spine, and I'm looking at the website. This is an Emmy award-winning program. #1 rated educational show. This is shown in schools. This is I'm almost speechless. I'm looking at this website, and they don't really tell you who's behind it, other than that they work very closely with NBC Sports and Fox News. Sounds about right. This is Alan Weiss. Here we go. Let's look at the. Before we go, I need to look at this. Creator and co-executive producer Alan Weiss. Co-executive producer and director Tanya Wilk and Mary Lou Yacoub. Who is this Alan Weiss? Have you done any research on this? Because this is...
No, I just watch it and enjoy it because I know if you see something, to say something.
This is just an outrage.
If you see something, say something.
Alan Weiss, let's see, we have the Summit Consulting Group. Of course, we need to have like IMDb maybe. This should be banned from schools. If your child comes home and says, "Oh, we watched Teen Kids News today," then you should immediately call a meeting at the school, the PTA. This is the guy who did Alan Weiss, an incredible successful career in Hollywood. He did Blue Hawaii for Elvis Presley. Really? That can't be the guy.
Could be.
FAQs. What is Teen Kids News? It's the leading television news program for teens and kids nationwide. The weekly FCC-friendly 30-minute show aims to inform, educate, and inspire. Okay.
Well, let's stretch one little more thing then.
No, you're not going to hurt me anymore, are you?
Oh yeah. So you were talking about, you mentioned, I wouldn't have done it if you hadn't mentioned Fox's involvement. Here is something that Fox, the people that bring you Fox News and all the rest of it, a kind of this is an experimental show, cartoon show they're thinking of rolling out called High School USA. And so the clip is HS.
How do you know? How do you know it's experimental? And they
because it shows up late in a bundle of shows that appear to me to be pilots.
Okay.
And this is a clip of High School USA. I'm going to 2 clips, and I want to ask you if you think that this is appropriate for anything.
You're hurting me, John.
Spread the funds out evenly in the school instead of just hiring more and more janitors. You probably would have gone unnoticed, but this was just dumb.
Superintendent Kunstler! Superintendent Kunstler!
Yeah, it's pronounced Andrea.
Andrea, I'm telling you, the students here are the smartest I've ever known. If you just give us one more chance to take this test, I promise we can do this without my breast milk.
Wait, hold on. Your breast milk? Dan, what the hell's going on at your school?
Nothing that's not going on at every school across America.
Fine, whatever. You can retake the test, but if you fail this time, I'm shutting down this perverted place for good.
Perverted? Really? You're the one who likes to pee on people, Kunstler!
So that begins.
This is on what channel?
This is on Fox Network. Now we're going to go to part 2, where the school kids passed the test and they got rid of the janitors. They had hired too many, and they're cleaning the bathroom as we speak. And this is how it ends.
You know how much you love status quo.
That's true, but I just feel that since we passed the test without my breast milk, it must not have been that good.
No, but your tutoring was.
Mr. Instructor!
Marsh, it turns out all the time you spent breastfeeding, you were also reading to the students from textbooks. You're a great tutor.
Oh, yeah.
Look, everything worked out great.
Cool.
But it won't be great for long.
Superintendent Kunstler.
You may have won this time, Dan, but next time, I'm gonna get you. And I'm gonna get you good.
Yeah, big deal. You're gonna pee on me.
It's pronounced poo.
I picked a bad time to quit drugs.
Is that unbelievable?
And I'm concerned about kids not knowing what an operating system or a file system is. Just forget about it. All right, that's great. Thanks, John.
You're welcome. I knew I'd liven things up.
That really aired? That's real?
Yes, I picked it up all over the air, OTA on Fox.
Wow. All right, well, I know that we're not exactly FCC friendly on this show, but parents, if I had a choice between High School USA and the No Agenda show, I think I know what I'd choose.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Note of disgustment.
And I'm going to look into this teen kids news. That's very, very disturbing. See something, say something. Everything's better since we killed Osama bin Laden. Jeez Louise. All right. Hey, this show is value for value. If you think you learned anything or got some insight you haven't gotten anywhere else, support us. Go to Dvorak.org/NA or just go to noagendashow.com. There's plenty of ways to find out how you can support us. And we have our show notes, 562.nashownotes.com, coming to you from FEMA Region 6, Travis Heights Hideout in Austin, Texas. In the morning, I'm Adam Curry.
And from FEMA Region X, Northern Silicon Valley, it has its own little area. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Thursday, everybody, right here on No Agenda. The best protest we have in the United States of America, and in fact in many countries around the world,
hey, ho, ho,
is this podcast.
Someone's getting cornholed today.
Sounds like a recipe for success to me.
Best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA